Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse. This is episode 211. This is a DC Comics podcast. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, release the Kraken.
That's one word for it. Connor's also here.
Yep.
Oh, yep.
So to fill the PETA, and they announced the name of the 32nd NHL team, and it is the Seattle Kraken. So
Seattle
super exciting.
Got the name Kraken. I feel like there should be a bidding war for that name.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's better than some of the other stuff they were floating around there, and their social media team really brought it on. What day was that? Thursday. So it's really exciting for a team that's not going to exist over a year from now.
Yes.
Love the pandemic.
For those of you who are playing Comics from the Multiverse bingo at home, you can check off Matt starts the show with a tangent about hockey. You could circle that one off right now. So,
if it makes you feel any better, the only reason I'm not mentioning snooker is that the games don't start for another 31 minutes.
Well, you still got one right there, so ding.
We talk about DC Comics every week. We get together. Coming up on this week's show, we have Batman 95, the official beginnings of Joker War. We have Action Comics 1023, The Flash 758, Shazam 13, Justice League Dark 24, and Connor also did a Patreon book, so look forward to some Connor Red Hood shenanigans. Everyone's favourite. Connor's especially. So that's what's coming up. And it's
Connor is the reddest hood.
And it is a light week for books. So we did put out some question requests, and I got a few to talk about. So we'll do that after the news here that we're going to kick off with. One relatively big in the sense that it's kind of teasing DC's next big thing, but not a lot to go on as of yet outside of a title and a little teaser poster they put out. But DC are officially teasing Endless Winter for December 2020, so it will overlap Metal. That was the thing for me, that I because there was like a bit of a rumor before this actually hit, and I assumed it'll probably start after Metal then in like February, still technically winter, but they're starting in December. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. It's basically just it's just the font. It's icy looking. I don't know if this means that there's going to be a focus and all the. Is this where Cold Snap finally gets to join Mr. Freeze and Captain Cold and Minister Blizzard?
Could you imagine just all the tie-ins of just all the obscure cold villains we could find?
This is the cold villain. What would you call this? The Legion of.
Well, you don't want to go Legion. You can find another. What's another? The supervillains are bad at naming teams.
Sub-Zero League.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I got none. I'm trying to think. There's not really. I mean,
okay.
You get the Fearsome Five, you get the Sinister Six, but you get. I mean, you can
basically
have the
your choices
Five.
Your choices are Legion or go with alliteration with the amount of members you've got.
Yeah. So I'm racking my brain. I can't think of too many, because even the Injustice League is just a spin on justice. You know what I mean? So yeah. Is
there any numbers that begin with a ch sound? I don't think so.
Not in English.
Churty.
I was gonna say, the chili churty is what I puts it.
I mean, you could do Freezing 5, I guess, if you really wanted to.
There's too many. There's more than 5. There's definitely more than 5.
All right, so I pulled up the story.
Freezing 15 is maybe more apt.
So I pulled up the story, and from a speculative standpoint, it says there was a character that goes by the name Endless Winter that goes all the way back to Action Comics 20, and it involves the Ultra Humanite. She was her name is Dolores Winters. Was originally an actress who was kidnapped by the villain Ultra Humanite, who had brain surgically transplanted into Winter's body.
Wait,
who had his brain.
So Endless Winter is going to assemble the Arctic Avengers. I nailed it!
I think we're all overlooking the possibility that this includes the Endless in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, okay, that's fair. I think I'm more excited for a bunch of cold villains teaming up. But
Why not? Why not both?
Do we get Killer Frost?
well, she's just Frost now because she's like not a villain anymore, right? So
Maybe, but it makes me think though that if let's say it is tied to Ultra Humanite, Josh Williamson's using Ultra Humanite in Batman Superman right now. He also was the last person that maybe it was Orlando to use Frost in the JLA Suicide Squad crossover.
it may have been
You know.
maybe they'll do a thing where all these cold villains are teaming up. You got the Acicles, you got, Captain Cold, Mr. Freeze, Mr. Blizzard, Cold Snap. There's at least one more obscure one that we found not too long ago that was making me cackle, and I can't remember them. But maybe there'll be like a moment where someone will turn and she's like, you know what? To fight Frost, we have to fight it with Frost. And then that's when Killer Frost is going to walk in as a smoking ice gun for the good guys. No?
I really hope whoever's writing this is better than you.
Oh, yeah, Endless Winter, huh?
Yeah. So we're getting some sort of Endless Winter story / event coming December.
Maybe to tie in with this speculation, Tom Taylor was teasing on Twitter just today or yesterday that in the next few days there's an announcement coming in regards to him, and he slapped the big DC logo along with it, so we know it's definitely DC related.
Yeah, so it wasn't creator owned, which he has that new book coming out.
Yeah.
Soonish.
Yeah, and he's just been announced for Marvel's Deceased as well. I'm pretty sure.
Marvel's Deceased.
Yeah, basically, they basically went, "Hey, we want some of that," and got Tom Taylor to do a book that is basically their version of it.
You know what? I hope it's just plug and play. I hope that it's the laziest. After their lazy cover, which seeing those covers, I don't know if it was this week or last week, actually in the shop, it makes me sad for Marvel. But after seeing that laziness, then they deserve a plug and play. Marvel Deceased.
But there's maybe a chance that this thing that Tom Taylor is teasing as an announcement could be this, if they're officially teasing this in some capacity already, even though it's not till December.
Hey, I'm always going to be on board for saying I want a Tom Taylor ongoing, but I mean,
you'll take a Tom Taylor event too.
Yes, I'll take an event. I mean, we've got Suicide Squad ongoing. Sorry, we got obviously all the other things going that he's doing right now. We get this. Deceased basically an ongoing, just going through titles.
Yeah.
So. No, and I like when writers and artists, for that matter, aren't exclusive, because it adds to this type of speculation. Because if we knew he was DC exclusive, right, then we couldn't have all these possibilities of what he's going to work on, and him coming out and saying it's something for DC, right? So.
Oh, we would have all cool. On this show specifically. Technically, we would have all the possibilities, because all we talk about is DC books.
Yeah, but what I mean is if he had come out and said I got something big and he put up a Marvel logo, we wouldn't care. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So the fact that he did put it out there as it is DC, that's cool. But I also like that he's got a creator own and he's doing something for Marvel, and keeps me on my toes. I like it.
Yeah. But even if it's not, Taylor might be doing something completely different. This could be anything. Is this going to be its own individual book? Is this a story that's going to actually take place in one of the ongoing books? We don't really know yet. It's just kind of
giving it its own logo like that implies it'll be its own thing. But you never know.
Yeah, we'll see. So I can dust off all my Mr. Freeze puns from Batman and Robin come this December.
Hey Pete.
Yeah.
I killed the dinosaurs.
The Ice Age.
That's so dumb.
Winter is coming to Gotham. Okay, that is the main bit of the news. There, I don't really have anything else. Unless you guys want to talk about the Tom King Jay Lee flub on Twitter.
No, it ended up being nothing.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So yeah, the end result is there was no news, and no news is good news, I suppose.
In this situation, yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't like the fact that becomes news because of other things, and I hate social media right now. I really do. Not everybody on it. Like there's people on there I love to interact with, but the actual process of rushing out, let's get this out before anything else can form. Oh, it's rough.
I don't know if you had any other news, Connor, you wanted to interject.
No, it was just the Tom Taylor thing, but then I just thought, well, I'll just throw it in with the other one.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. So there you go. News is done. So we'll get head first into some questions here. I will start with an email. Now this person here knows fine well that I'm going to struggle to pronounce their name and did not offer any help in the email as to how to pronounce said name. So I can only assume that they want me to embarrass myself and butcher it, but I'll give it my best go. So this comes from Peye Ulugbodi. If I butchered that, I apologise, but you knew fine well it was going to happen. So let it be known. If you want me to pronounce your name right, at least try and tell me how to do it.
Give him a phonetic guide.
Yes. But hey, so the couple of questions here in this email. A couple of weeks ago when you were talking about Lois Lane's final issue, you said it wasn't a complete book that you could give to someone. For both major and minor characters, what are some of the complete books you feel you can give to someone? Example, members of the Justice League, Teen Titans, Bat Family, Superman Family, Flash Family, whoever, kind of thing. So that's the first question.
We kind of touched on it a little bit in that discussion, I think.
I think we can ignore Batman and Superman because they obviously have tons.
Yeah, for other characters, any of the ones that are like a year one, barring the recent Flash one, are pretty safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, Rucka's Wonder Woman year one does work surprisingly well, even though I think ultimately you should still read the whole run and read it in that context, but it does work on its own as well.
You could just read year one and it'd be fine. The JLA year one by Wade from a while back, it's pretty good. It's like a 12-issue series, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, like Green Arrow year one works. Anything that clearly implies an origin story kind of works. You know, obviously Supergirl being Superboy's one we championed early on in the show because that was coming out in the early days of Rebirth.
And that's a pretty definitive Supergirl story too. That kind of gives you the beats that you need for that character.
Yeah,
Well, that's kind of what you want when you recommend something like that, so they can just get a vibe.
That's it. I would put an asterisk. I would put an asterisk on that one though, because it's definitely an alternate take on the character. Because it's not like the type of Supergirl you get in continuity. It's a very different kind of.
Yeah, I don't think that really matters. In terms of this is the scenario of giving a story to a person to say, hey, this is why you might like this character. Even though it's a different take, it captures the essence. So if you like that, you would like Supergirl.
It's something I would definitely mention when I recommend it, though. I'd say it's not necessarily like the ongoing, you know, what the character you're going to find elsewhere. But yeah, as a standalone story, you can read and sort of give to someone. Yeah.
Same with the Brian Q. Miller Batgirl with Steph, right? You kind of give that because it is kind of a definitive Steph story.
You can, but it's not really one book though. That's like, you know, that's a whole run.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then the first trade, then right? Because that introduces the idea of her taking over as Batgirl.
True. I mean, true, but only in so much as any volume one could work that way. I don't know if that's a complete thing though. Like, I think the point of this question is a book you can hand. It's a beginning, middle, and end. It's a complete story.
Yeah. Anything that's a mini series or a straight to graphic novels are pretty safe for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, quality may vary.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there. I'm a big fan of the Black Canary and Zatanna graphic novel from Dini. That's real good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is notable though that there's definitely some characters who are kind of missing this. You know, I don't think Flash has one of these. I don't think Green Lantern has one of these. I'm racking my brain
for it, and there's really not one. That's not like an Elseworlds. But then again, you don't want to hand in Elseworlds.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Yeah, Elseworlds are a bit different too. Like Supergirl being super isn't really an Elseworlds. Elseworlds are like, you know, this very kind of sideways look at them. Yeah.
I mean, a Harleen then, right? Because that's a different day. That's like being super.
Oh yeah.
But for Harley Quinn.
I think we said that's now the Harley recommended book that you give to someone when they're just getting into comics. We said that when we were reviewing it. That very much that sort of stood up and said no, because Harley didn't have that before, I don't think. And that book said no, I'm taking that crown. This is now the Harley book.
Before that, it was probably just like the Mad Love trade.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly solid.
Would you consider something like the JSA, the Golden Years, or the Golden Era? What the hell is it? The Golden Age. There we go. I knew I'd get it. Yeah, it was a James Robinson.
Yeah, that works.
It's not quite JSA, but it gives you enough of the beats of who these characters are that
It's as
tells
close
its
as you're
own
going to
story.
get to a confined JSA
Yeah.
story.
Again, it's a
Yeah.
boring ass answer because again, it's just a year one. But Batgirl year one is actually very good. If you want like, because classic Babs Batgirl is kind of a thing that doesn't exist on its own because it was there was no Batgirl book back when she was actually active as Batgirl. Obviously, we have a lot of modern Babs Batgirls, from New 52 onwards, but her origin in that book is very well done. It's a 9-issue series. It's a very easy book to recommend to someone.
I'm just looking at myself if anything sticks out that's not Batman or Superman.
Yeah. Batman and Superman have absolutely tons. There's so many you can recommend for those. I don't know if because some of these like, sort of families that are mentioned, like Teen Titans, like I'm like, is there like a Raven book or a Starfire book that you'd go, hey, this is what will took you on these characters?
Yes. I mean, the Starfire.
Yeah, there's still only 12 issues.
Right.
Yeah, but does it work as a standalone thing for someone who doesn't know who Starfire is?
Yeah, because it is Connor Palmiotti's version of Starfire that she kind of, that's why it's my favorite one because it's so unique. And you can see it bleeding into other versions of her, but that one's up there. But that one, we talked about that one a lot.
Yeah,
Connor.
Raven, I would actually recommend that recent graphic novel, the one that's for teens. Cami Garcia with Piccolo art. Yeah, that's real good. That works as a good standalone introduction to Raven.
Yeah. But I think it's quite notable because I think DC have a lot more of these than Marvel do. I think Marvel don't tend to have a lot of these standalone stories that are not connected to runs or anything like that. But even DC, when you start talking about them, it becomes quite apparent that a lot of their bigger characters, after your top, your Trinity.
I think it's worth noting that there are a lot of these stories that are part of larger runs that you can read on their own. But if it's hard, we're of the type of people that we don't want to recommend volume 8 of a 14-volume series. But that often can work as a story on its own that you can just jump into. That
is just as insane to me as saying, hey, you should watch season 4, episode 5 of this thing to see if you like the show.
People routinely told me that when I asked about Doctor Who. They said to start with Blank. And that's like, what, season 3?
Yeah, that's like kind of what I'm getting at here is the idea of if you want to see just what it's like as an introduction, this story will, even though it's in the middle of other things, it has enough context in its own right and gives you everything it needs. That I mean, I think of a story in comics. The Superman and Legion story is like in the middle of Johns' run, essentially. But it completely just, you can take it out, pick it on its own, read that, and then go, well, now do you want to read the rest of Johns' run?
Right.
And it works perfectly fine like that.
I'm never going to do it though. I'm not going to recommend it because.
You should read that book.
It's so good.
I don't mean that book specifically. I mean, I'm talking about what we're talking about here. Recommending something in the middle of a run. I would never do it.
That kind of is. That is just in the middle of a run.
I know, but I know. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying that that's not what I'm arguing here. I'm saying that I would never recommend anything from the middle of a run.
Hey, I want to make a recommendation right now.
I'm not speaking specifically about that book.
You also read Wonder Woman issue 8 by Rucka.
Shut up, Matt.
He's right though.
And Douglas Evely.
Oh dear.
Fantastic.
I don't even know what to. Okay. All right. There are questions here in this email. So it's been said in previous episodes that post-crisis DC was your favorite era. What are your favorite things about it, and what do you feel the current DC universe needs to change and improve? I think something we have to clarify here is that when we say our favorite era is post-crisis, we don't actually mean like right at the start of post-crisis. We're really talking more the 2000s. We're talking, and I was thinking about this because I read this email earlier, right, when I was just looking through to see what we had, and I was thinking about this a little bit in terms of like why it is the 2000s, more or less, that we all kind of gravitate towards. Outside of the obvious part of that's when we kind of started reading comics, or that's when we fell in love with a lot of these things, blah blah, all the normal things you might predict, is that I think comic books before Crisis, right, is that continuity was there by that point, and it was something that was sort of seeping into more and more comics, and this idea of a world and characters evolving and changing and growing and all that stuff. It was all kind of there. But it happened very gradually over like several decades, to the point where not everything's kind of at that point at once. And I think when Crisis happened, they kind of reset a lot of the history. I think the reason why the 2000s era of DC Comics is so goddamn good is because it's enough time after that reset that enough new history had been built that it felt like it had a lot of history, but it didn't take 4 decades like the past version did. It only took about a decade or so, because by that point, all the comics were ingrained in continuity and building these stories and evolving their characters.
It's what, in theory, could have happened after the New 52, right? In the sense that, okay, here's your starting point, and it's a neat starting point that where not everything is starting from scratch. Here's things we're collating, like, almost like a greatest hit starting point, and we go from there. But the problem is they kind of went too far back and just ended up having to redo stories instead. But it's a similar idea where Crisis, okay, it reset things, it wiped the table clean, but put things back in a place that was pseudo-familiar. Like, it was maybe not entirely new, but okay, this character we want in this place and this one in that place. But now we're all starting from there and moving forward together and building from that point. And I think that's the problem with the New 52 is it could have done that again if it had been done a little bit smarter. Yeah,
but like I say, I'm not talking about just when it happened. I'm talking about much later, after a decade of development.
Like, if the New 52 from the start had been handled better, we could be at that point again now, in terms of the same sort of feeling that we're talking about. In terms of, okay, we started from this point and we grew.
Theory's a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
Theory's a hell of a thing.
What Connor's saying there, because what we enjoy about all that at that point is that built in, and it's hard to, that's what was a big problem in the 52 is everything was so fresh and there really wasn't a guidebook, right? Like somehow Batman had only been Batman for a couple of years. It had been through 4 Robins.
Yeah, it was a problem where it went back too far with everyone of like, this is the start, 5 years, that's it.
Right.
And everyone started feeling like too fresh, like there was no history there, as opposed to in Post-Crisis where there was still history. Mm-hmm. It was just a condensed form of it, but not as much.
And what helped with Post-Crisis, right? You had Year One, you had Byrne's Man of Steel, you had the George Perez Wonder Woman. Yeah. You had who was on Flash post when Wally took over away.
Post, I don't know, because Wade started in like the 50s or 60s. So
yeah. So, but you had all this. It was so you're giving origins to these already known characters, but then you're giving Wally, who's this legacy character now, because Barry died in the Crisis, right? So, and then you jump forward 25 years, right? Is my math right? No, 15 years.
Yeah, more like 15, yeah.
Yeah, 15 years, and now there's all this, Nightwing's got, Dick's become Nightwing, right? And he goes off to Bloodhaven, and, there's Young Justice, because there's no Teen Titans. Like, there's all this stuff that's there that you can grab onto, and, like, when I first got back into comics, it was, Batman, Superman, or Superman, Batman, in John's Teen Titans. Those are the first 2 books I was picking up, and the John's Teen Titans was kind of steeped in this mythology that you didn't have to go back and read the new Teen Titans,
but it helped.
But you can tell it was influenced.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Loeb's Superman, Batman was just these fun little stories that were in continuity, but were just off enough that he can kind of do what he wanted, and it was scratching all those itches. So I just love that era for that kind of storytelling.
I think for me, it was just the overall mythology and continuity of the world just all felt so rich, and everything felt connected, and not everything was perfect, obviously. There's bad stories sprinkled throughout the whole thing. Of course there is. There always going to be. But everything just felt, whenever I read a character or a specific story from that time period, it always made me want to read what came before in another book, because so I read this bit in Infinite Crisis. So what was going on in Wonder Woman then? Right now, which happened to be Rucka's run, of course, at the time, and then I read something else. It'd be like, oh wait, I wanted to then go back and read what was happening in Green Lantern, because this built up to this thing, and that's tying into this other book, and it kind of functioned in the way that comics in theory are supposed to in a shared continuity, where there's this domino effect of wanting to read more and more. Which obviously kills all of our bank accounts, but that's just kind of like the purpose.
Yeah, and then you get to my age, you're like, I'd love to read that, but I don't have the bandwidth for everything else,
And I think the big thing about New 52 is not just how it was handled, is that trying to do a complete wipe like that when what we all loved about the world in the first place was how rich it was in its history that it built over the last, at that point, 20 or so years.
Yeah, and I think it's showing that as much as we like a lot of stuff from Rebirth, we're not in that same mindset right now, because Joker War started, this week.
Yeah.
And I have no interest in reading all the other tie-ins that are related to it. Whereas in those days, I'd be like, okay, where else can I get more of this story?
Yeah.
I mean, when Flashpoint happened, I picked up every single, mini, right? And that's what eventually broke me from doing that. I'm like, I don't need to do this. Like, so it's a lesson learned. But I mean, I still fall into that trap. I mean, I checked out Nightwing last week. So,
But did you read Batgirl this week?
No.
Oh, there you go.
Or Detective Comics. Well, because I learned my lesson. Even though Detective Comics this week was a road to or prelude to Joker War, so it really wasn't a tie-in. But it's got the banner on it because, I did peek because, like what Pete was saying last week, maybe Tomasi with having a tie-in because that's where he kind of made his bones might be worth it. But yeah, no. Now it's funny because for a while I went where I only followed creators so whoever would come up with the book, and then I went to characters, and now it's a hybrid of the two, so
I think even just being on a podcast kind of makes you check out a few things you might not have otherwise for the sake of
well, there's that, but
the discussion.
But I would have checked out Blue Beetle regardless, because I do like that character regardless of being on the show, and I might not have read it for as long.
I love that you bring up Blue Beetle as if it's a recent example, and that was like right at the start of the show. that was like episode 4.
Yeah, but we made like how many issues of that? Like 6, 7?
Yeah, we read about 7 of those.
If it wasn't for the show, I wouldn't have made it that far.
Sure,
but I definitely would have checked it out because I do like Blue Beetle, and I still do that with certain books now.
Everything's a slider. It's like a gauge, right? Where I say the same thing about just reading books based on characters. There's characters that I care enough about that the threshold of which I will drop the book is a little bit, different from if I just don't care about the character. If I go to let's say I'm trying a Hellblazer, but I don't give a shit about that character. So unless the writer knocks it out of the park or the artist knocks it out of the park in that first issue, I just don't care. I'm gone. But I really care about Dick Grayson. So I will trudge through some sludge in the hopes that it's going to get better, or in the hopes that it's important, and I'll give it more leeway. And it's kind of the same thing. The show adds like an extra little, like, if you think of it in video game terms, it's like a little modifier of like plus 3% like tolerance, where because I do a show, there's a slight nudge to also try and rough it out a little bit more than it would be. But there's a point of no return still, though. There's still a point where no, I can't read this anymore. It's terrible.
A good example of that is if you weren't doing this show.
Yes.
Do you think you'd have got as far as you did with Flash?
Flash is probably a very good example. The current run of Flash, I might have opted out maybe about 20 issues ago, 30 issues.
You're only kind of going through it because, well, it's for the show. And don't get me wrong, I know you've been better on it the last handful of issues, but there was a time where you were definitely not enjoying it at all.
Point does stand. I mean, I stopped reading Superman in New 52 because of the writer who must not be named. Right, dropped it. It was the first time I dropped Superman in all the years I'd been back reading comics, and then Johns takes it over. And so I had dropped it for maybe 3 issues before picking it back up. So I understand that.
Yeah.
You're just like, I can't take it anymore. Oh wait, new writer? Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, just think about it in terms of an RPG. You're rolling a d20, but you've got a stat that's like +3 for certain characters. So it's easier to like fall within the safe roll for a while, And
inevitably, at some point, that luck's going to run out, and you'll
exactly,
the +3 won't be enough.
Exactly.
Again, Nightwing.
Yes, Nightwing is a great example. And that's why those ones though we hated the writer so much that it only took 1 issue. We gave that 1 issue a chance at 50 or whatever it was, and it was like, okay, no, like I know what I need to know here. I don't need to try this anymore. Everything's on a slider, and it's the same with anything really. But obviously, we're talking about comics here specifically. So thanks to Pay for that email. I'll jump over to Twitter where the rest of our questions reside. We'll look at some of these. I won't actually go through all of these because there's one in there specifically that was basically build your own Justice League, but just with a slight twist on it. And I'm like, I see you. I see what you're doing. No chance. So from. Oh my god! I hate how TweetDeck hides the actual handle at Superman's_Papa. With Williamson's run ending on DC. Sorry, with Williamson's run ending, obviously meaning Flash, DC not making a splash with the big creative team for the ongoing, and Death Metal teasing a status quo shift next year, as well as presenting a Flash family tie-in with Speed Metal. What would you like to see, and what direction would you want for the book? So, Pie in the Skies, like, we get rid of Barry and we give it to Wally. Like, sure, I'll take that. But, I mean...
Realistically, I just want a book that's good. I mean, I don't need like a specific direction. If it's a Barry book, it's a Barry book. That's fine.
It's a boring answer, but yeah, ultimately that's all I really want is a good book.
Here's the thing. I want them to take the double shipping and split that into 2 books.
Okay.
One book, you can focus on Barry, keep him as the main Flash, right? Bruce is Batman, he's Flash. The second book, you can do Flash family rotating.
We've been saying this for like 2.5 years.
Yeah, like...
Yeah.
To me, it's the best of both worlds.
It was
here.
We've been saying that about Wonder Woman as well. I mean, admittedly, Tamaki's runs about to start, and we might love that, so I might not complain about having 2 of that a month, but there was a period where we said, why not have Wonder Woman just be 2 books, Wonder Woman and Sensation Comics, and have 2 different, teams on Wonder Woman books.
We can do it on Batman and Superman, so why not some of these others?
Yeah. So, although Batman just gets to have 2 of both books, but yeah.
Well, that's because Batman. And,
because Batman.
Right.
Look, if you sell as much as Batman, you can have 4 books as well.
Yes, that's true, yes.
But yeah, and then it could rotate, or it could do the Flash family thing where it's kind of like Tynion's detective run where we get a little piece of each speedster, some like Wally gets an arc, and then Bart gets an arc, and we get a Max Mercury story in there. I
suppose the thing that we're really saying that we are all unanimous on is we want a Flash family book, not necessarily instead of the main book, just to go along with it. I suppose that's the direction we want more than anything.
Yeah.
Hell, I'll just take rotating Flash minis of the other characters. Yeah. So if we have a main Flash book, and then here's a Wally mini, here's a Jay mini, whoever, take your pick.
Yeah, Avery, Wallace, Max, Jesse, whoever.
Yeah, they might not all be good. We might not like all of them. Right. But I like the variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So no, I just hoping they actually have something interesting planned, or just what, put Tom Taylor on the book and I'll shut up to that'll.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he has. He did the. Oh, he didn't do that issue, did he? That's Suicide Squad.
No.
The Flash annual. That was Williamson.
That was Williamson.
Yeah. Damn. I was gonna say he has some, familiarity. But
yeah, I feel like he would handle Flash quite well. I mean, I know it's a cop out for us. Every time we're asked, like, what would you want for the direction of this book? I'll put Tom Taylor on it.
It works for everything.
Just about. So at Talking Superman, usual, got cheeky with the just squeezing in a question at the last minute. What are your guys' favorite colorists in comics? And
that's easy.
Is it Belair? Is that what you're gonna say?
No, Matt Wilson.
Okay.
Hands down.
Belair's the one who's like that name pops up in so many comics in the colorist section. When Belair's actually also writing and drawing comics as well, but also does the color for like so many books. It's insane.
Multifaceted.
Yeah.
I think started as a colorist, as far as I know.
Garrett's colors his own work as well. There's a lot of artists who color their own work, which definitely gives you that more, I don't know.
Yeah, you've got some who, like I know Sorrentino always colors the first issue of his own work for a run, so that whoever is the colorist afterwards, he's like, no, I've set up the style and template and the palette that I want it to be.
Okay, yeah. That makes some sense. Brad Anderson's pretty good. So.
Yeah, of course, Matt Hollisworth as well is another staple name that does a lot of really strong, reliable work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be honest. I don't know if I sort of take in the colorist names as much as I should when I'm reading comics. Because it's such a big impact on what the comic looks like. But it's not something I register in my brain as much as the writer and artist for fairly obvious reasons. Just because frequently it holds so much, I guess.
I know DC has had cover credits for colorists for decades at this point. I think Marvel were lagging behind. I don't know if they fixed that now. But I think DC have had them for a while now, and so we should be noticing them more.
Yeah. So from @Comb Factor, to a couple of questions here. First of all, it's a bit of a gimmick now, but which character would you like to see Tom King do a 12-issue series on, and with what artist? This has definitely become his thing now, right? But obviously, Mr. Miracle was huge. And now we have, Strange Adventures, and with the announcement of Rorschach, it's like, okay, that's just his shtick. This is what he does now.
To be fair, I think his Vision thing before that was 12 issues as well, right?
Oh, sure. I was just specifically thinking DC, but yeah.
Sheriff of Babylon, issues. Maybe?
Sheriff of Babylon's 12.
Are they 12? Okay, fair enough. Yeah. All right.
So, and I just think if that's the way his brain works in telling stories, great, because sometimes it works, and other times you give him 7 issues and it doesn't work.
All right. Let's not turn this into Heroes in Crisis thing again, all right?
I'm not. I was moving on. I was saying it's strange how structured it is to be consistent with 12 issues. Like some people like, okay, this is a 9-issue story and I've got to make it fit, whereas he seems to come in with 12 consistent.
It's just how his brain works, I guess. It's like TV writers are just used to the 13-episode season. They just always think about it in terms of 13 chapters, and they're just so ingrained in doing that.
And then you give them 10, and they're like, they don't know what to do.
Like, I've lost 3 hours of TV here. What did I do? So yeah, in terms of like who you'd like to see him do, I mean, troubled characters. He seems to take broken characters and tell great stories about them.
Honestly, I think a good answer to this is a callback to the first question. Any of those characters that we couldn't think of that had a good book to hand to someone.
It's a very good point, yes.
I mean, now that he's doing Rorschach, the question kind of seems
pointless.
So I'd like him. Yeah, it seems pointless because there's so much crossover. Because that would be cool.
I feel
doing
like
the question and what it means, like black and white. Although I'm sure this is what Rorschach's going to be. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see on a higher profile character, because at the minute they've all kind of been side characters.
I mean, I'm thinking what Green Lantern I'd like to see tackle, and I think the main 4 interest me less, but I think either Baz or Jessica both have some interesting like backstories and character, like their stories maybe lend themselves to the way that Tom King looks at, psychology.
I wouldn't mind seeing like an Aquaman one where it's Aquaman as the ruler, as the king, and kind of dealing with that side of things and him coping and having the burden of the responsibility. I think that would be kind of fall in nicely at his stick.
Who's the artist on this Aquaman Tom King book?
It's a good question. Who do I want as a good Aquaman artist? I don't know.
My gut says Fraser Irving, but I mean,
for Aquaman,
I don't know, underwater.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, give me the Nightmare Fuel version of Aquaman.
I don't think I want that in that particular story.
Okay.
Fraser Irving on like a horror take, sure.
How about I mean, he's already done like a short Swamp Thing story, so Swamp Thing seems like a really obvious answer for him.
I mean, in that realm, and it's self-parody at this point, but I want him to clarify the Poison Ivy stuff from his Batman run. Because it didn't really get cleared up, right?
I never want him to bring it up again, because it's just going to feel shoehorned into whatever he throws it into.
No, because I'd like to see, because what we got from that mini with her and Harley, and that status quo of, anytime if she splits herself off, it's almost like Multiple Man in that way. Which Ivy's the real Ivy, right? Mm-hmm. Is Ivy Pamela Isley? Is she this whole new creature? Is she still human? Like, I think there's a lot to tackle. You talk about the psychology there,
That could be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Maybe I just want more JSA character stuff, but maybe Alan Scott would be a good tackle. All of his family stuff with Obsidian and all that.
Wildcat. The boxer who's, come up from nothing. He's a superhero. His only power is basically he could, punch real good.
It says a lot that we're really not that fussy here.
No, like there's very few that I'd be upset about.
Rorschach was the first one where I went, really? That was a bit like, I don't really want that, of all things.
I mean, it's funny.
Spectre.
As much as we're going for these more broken characters, if they did just like sort of say, "No, he's doing a 12-issue story about Barry Allen," I'd be like, you know what, cool, let's see what he does. I'm sure he'll have something interesting to say.
Yeah. I just said the Spectre, but Pete, you want Fraser Irving? Put Fraser Irving on a Tom King Spectre comic.
Oh, there you go.
Now that I'd read more than the Aquaman.
Yeah. Because I associate Fraser Irving with Doctor Strange because of the Jason Aaron run, and he did a really wicked Dormammu. So I'd like to see what he would do with.
If I'm doing Irving on these sorts of things, I'd have preferred him on the Green Lantern book over the Aquaman one. Have him do stuff in deep space.
Yeah, no, I'd be into that for sure. I think obviously what King does is he looks at the actual like drama and tragedy of a character and really kind of explores it. So I feel like any character we can ascribe that to, and let's face it, most comic book characters, even if they're less obvious in this realm, they for the most part you can tie them to something like that and make it work. I'm going to call it right now. When Tom King's ready to retire from comics in like 30 years' time, his final 12-issue story is going to be Kite Man, right? That's going to be his capper to his whole career. I'm calling it now. Another question from Cofactor, and I want every book we just said, basically, for the record. Like I'll read them all. So, right, how would you save DC Universe? If it can be saved, how long do you think it has left? This is an interesting question because this is tied into stuff that me and Cara have been talking about in the TV news and stuff like that recently. Because basically DC Universe has no longer really any original content in production that's been made just for it. All of it's been taken from other things. Stargirl is now a CW exclusive. It has Doom Patrol, but that's also on HBO Max.
We've got and those are coming to an end on their current seasons within the next few weeks. And after that, the only thing upcoming will be Titan Season 3.
Which is like when TBA, who knows? Could be any time at this point. So
do you guys think they'll get rid of the programming and just turn it into their comic app?
I think that's what you do. I think you don't even need to change the pricing too much because it's already comparable with Marvel Unlimited. I think all you need to do is shift it from a year wait down to 6 months and just say that's the trade-off for, okay, no other original content will be 6 months behind instead of a year behind. So you can do it at the same price.
Is that what Marvel Unlimited is? Is it 6 months?
Yeah, that's why I suggested it, I think. It's the same.
Just to make it a direct comparison. Because right now it's longer, but you have all the other content there to fill it out, which makes it seem reasonable.
As far as like saving it as it is now with like original like TV content, I feel like there's no time left. It's done. It's already dead, basically.
I mean, do you really want more Swamp Thing, Tim?
Honestly,
does he really like that show?
I don't know with Tim.
He's being weird.
Or is he just messing with us? Because at a certain point, I don't know anymore, and I've known the guy for like 6-7 years at this point. And I can't get a beat on him.
Matt, it's been 4 years and I still don't know if he actually likes the boy or if he's just yanking my chain.
No, I think I fully believe he loves the boy.
I go back and forth every few months. I'll be like, no, he's just shitting with us.
We gotta get Melissa and be like, hey, does he have a Brahms at home? Does he make you address Brahms? And if she says no, then it's a joke. But if she says yes, then we gotta get help.
He says it with such sincerity that he can't help question.
And he does like, and again, I don't know where it ends. Go look at the Hellboy review from last year, where he crapped all over it, but still gave it like an 8 because it's Hellboy. So like,
I would like to know, because I feel like he's already got a pact in place with the wife that their firstborn has to be called Brahms, and I don't know how he's achieved this, but he's won some bet that's ensured that that's what's going to happen.
And that's why they keep getting more dogs, so they can stave off. They can stave off the kid. But because I don't know anyone outside of Tim that liked the Swamp Thing show. That's why I don't think that's the answer. Although the Harley show, I do want to watch it, but
so good.
Which notably,
I'm hoping they throw it to HBO Max.
Well, notably, it's already got another destination. It's going to air on I forget what network it is, but it's going to be on the cable network.
Oh, is it?
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure I read that.
If they put it all there, I'll give it a watch because I have all those apps having cable.
So good, honestly.
Yeah, and it's not just you, Connor. I have some of the people that follow me on Twitter are telling me how good it is, and it's one of their favorite things to watch. And
you, as an Ivy fan in particular, like this is hands down my favorite version of Ivy.
Yeah. So I do want to see that. I want to watch Stargirl, and the CW app kind of stinks. So like,
yeah.
You know.
All right, but I mean, we're at the point where we're just kind of listing the content that's on there. I think the actual service was kind of a blunder from the start in that they didn't really actually think that far ahead if it was sustainable. For some reason, they didn't predict that, oh, hey, we're launching this big HBO streaming service, which they knew was going to happen. Like Warner Brothers knew they were doing that.
I think that was AT&T, once they took over, they have this whole thing of keeping the divisions separate and in the dark from each other. So when the DCS was announced, they didn't know that HBO Max was in the works because no one told them, because they have this whole competing with the other divisions kind of vibe that they try and foster, apparently.
Yeah, which is stupid in so many levels.
In the ass for us.
So I don't even blame the people who came up with that.
So, I mean, I don't think it can be saved in the sense that it's never going to be the big thing they want it to turn into. As a Marvel Unlimited competitor, it can exist as that, if they even want to do that. Because part of me thinks that, I mean, everyone's suggesting that because it's the obvious thing to do. But part of me wonders, like, do they even want to have that? Do they want to have that to offer to people?
If it brings in easy money, then yes.
Yeah. Well, because I know people that do have it, that's what they use it mostly for.
Oh, sure,
but the comics.
But how many stupid decisions have they already made? So just because it's the smart decision does not make me confident they're going to take it.
No, it's the obvious thing to do, in the sense that it's low maintenance, it's low upkeep. They don't have to produce any, exclusive content. They just get to sit back and reap the rewards. And there's maybe a very small percentage of people who will stop reading monthly and switch over to this being 6 months behind instead.
Yeah, but as we've talked about before, though, such a small percentage is digital anyway that it's only going to be digital readers who might switch, and so the physical readers aren't going to switch from their monthly comics to waiting 6 months.
It was Didio last year talking about how digital sales have kind of plateaued. They're not growing anymore like they thought they were going to. Not at the rate they were expecting anyway. So for them, having a subscription service, which is where a lot of people's mindset is in terms of value right now. After Netflix kind of took over, that has kind of been the way forward that people think about their consuming their media. So maybe it's actually a really smart idea for them to do it that way.
Yeah. All right. So I think we'll do one more question before we get into the books. So from @beardedgeek24, sorry, bearded_geek24. What's your favorite non-traditional Superman logo design? Mine is Red Sun, Earth 14 Justice League of Assassins, and Bizarro. I feel like Matt's probably going to be the one that actually has answers for this off the top of his head. So,
does Connor's count, which is just the red on black? It's just the traditional. I
guess
I love it.
I'd say the Kingdom Come one for me.
Yeah, Kingdom Come's up there. I know it's a stupid gimmicky answer. The electric Superman logo, I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely of a time, right?
Oh yeah,
that time being shite.
Sure, I mean, but at the same time,
you say that, but I miss the mullet. Superman suited that mullet.
I don't know, man.
And so we now have to question everything Pete says, because his taste is clearly not trustworthy.
He's in the pro mullet party.
Superman with that longer hair was a good look. Him, and then in the Justice League next time was Kyle with that visor. Man, good times. Good times for the look of the Justice League. I tell you that right now.
I'm looking up some other ones because there's not a lot that are coming up.
Yeah. Honestly, it's hard. I don't really have any standouts. That it's a Superman logo. It's hard to mess it up that badly.
I don't have any particular favorites, mainly because I'm not necessarily someone who, I'm kind of boring and I just always like the main one the best. I just want a regular Superman logo.
Let's see. There's the electric.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, Ultraman. Just the big U. Hammer and sickle. Yeah, Captain Carrots is actually kind of cool because it's got the carrot, and then the traditional pentagon makes the C, which is kind of cool.
Mm.
I want to say, I don't remember if Super Chief has a logo. I feel like it's like the Superman logo, but there's an eagle in it. I feel, but I can't remember. But yeah, no, there's a lot of cool, fun takes on it.
Yeah,
a lot of them are just so similar though that I'm just like, yeah, I mean,
it's hard. Yeah,
there's definitely a lot that I hate. I could say that with certainty.
I don't like when it gets too blocky or too it needs there's a Goldilocks zone where it needs to be just angular but not too curly, so I'm looking at the old one from the from Christ on Infinite Earth on this image I'm looking at. It's the History of Superman logo. That one's perfect to me because it's perfectly angular and curly. Versus, some of the older ones that are a little bit too curly.
Matt's favorite's the Injustice design.
What's that look like?
I don't know. I mean, the logo itself's actually not that weird, but it kind of connects to the cape, and it's got this kind of
gotcha
sort of tanky look to it. I'm not into it.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about the Man of Steel movie, that logo's not bad. I actually like what it did with the texturing of it, where it makes it feel like it's familiar, but it is different enough that it stands out on its own.
I definitely liked it more than the Superman Returns version of the logo.
Yeah,
which
too small.
Yeah, I always just felt a little bit. I don't know. They went a bit too rounded with some of it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what everyone wants us to talk about, the intricacies of the logo and
the logo design. I mean, it is. I mean, I know there are people that are design people. So
I feel like I have more hot takes in the Bat logos just because they some of those are so different, but they're all in continuity, or they're all main style. Because you've got the oval, you've got without the oval, you've got so very.
You got the one that we had recently with the outline.
Exactly, yeah. There's so many variations of the Bat logo, which are all. Whereas Superman, it feels like the main Superman logo has people draw it slightly differently, I guess, but it's mainly the same design and has been for a long time. We see these other ones when it's alternate Earths or alternate whatever, right? Batman, though, actually goes through a lot of different logo designs that he has in the main continuity.
To the point where some of them are rounded and some of them are very pointy, like very distinctly pointy or rounded. Complete opposite ends of the scale with the wings.
Yeah, I saw a meme that's been going around because of the Burton Batman movies that the logo for the poster isn't the logo on his chest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that until someone that pointed it out, because you just don't think about it.
You just assume, your brain just assumes it's the same.
Yeah. So, but no, I do like that one. I'm looking at them now, and I think it's the Batman that's. It's too. I can't zoom in on it, but it is that perfectly rounded bat one that has the wings that go up. I always it's the one that they use at Magic Mountain a lot for the Batman the Ride. So I'm sure it's from the movies, but I like that one a lot. Also the Nolan one that looks just like the.
Oh, it's okay.
my
my favorite bat symbol, I've just messaged it to you too, so you could see it. It's basically that one. It's the one that I know the Arkham games use a lot. I'm not a big. I mean, I don't hate the oval, but I don't like the oval on the outside. I like the bat wings angled up the way a little bit, with not too skinny either, nice and thick.
Yeah,
I like the logo, the oval when it's like in continuity with the point of this is the protected area on his chest that he wants.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what Frank Miller I think it said right in Dark Knight Returns. I want to say that the reason that it's got the bright yellow behind it is that if someone has someone shooting at Batman, they aim for that instead of his head, which is less armored.
Yeah, which is a really solid reason to do that.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad that he came out and said that. Because that's one of the things that he did with that character that makes sense.
It's an idea. Yeah, I'm not gonna complain. All right. There's logo talk, I guess.
Yeah.
Will not be a regular feature.
No.
Maybe we can talk the Flash logo for hours.
I mean, I just gold bolt on a white.
Never changes.
Yeah, on a white circle which the TV show somehow screwed up in the first season. But you know, that's neither here nor there.
It's fixed it now. It's fine.
Oh dear. In fact, I don't even think the movie version, you know, from Justice League had the white circle, did it? Or if it did, it was so muted that you couldn't really see it.
I try not to remember that suit as much as possible.
That's fair. That's fair. I know it's Matt's favorite, but
I don't talk about it. It only gets me into trouble, so I don't.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yes. Release the Alan Smithy cut. So.
That's a film nerd joke.
It is. All right. We will get into comic books then for the week. So we will kick off with the main event, which is definitely Batman 95. James Tynion IV writing with Jorge Jimenez on the art. Hey. Notably, no Gilliam March.
Who I believe isn't on it for the entirety of Joker War. So we got, 6
Lucky
issues.
us.
I know. So exciting.
Not to tip my hand, but I didn't hate this issue.
That's not like a hot take.
I know, that's kind of a muted, fair thing to say.
But I didn't love it either. It's just there. So.
No, I thought it was a really solid issue.
Yeah, I thought it was solid. Yeah.
The art, I think, does a lot, though, too, because you're not staring at Gilliam March. And it's Jimenez, who I really enjoy. So it was a happy surprise.
Yeah. I quite like the issue. I think what this succeeded in doing, and what its goal probably was, is to establish the stakes of this story and make this whatever this conflict in this story is going to be between Batman and Joker, make it feel like it's the biggest conflict they might have ever had, and this has been years building up to this war. And I think the way it was cutting around the news reports, as you know, everything's going on in the city. The flashback at the start with Alfred talking to Batman about the Joker's first kind of, like, not attack, but during that first kind of stretch.
Get in the reservoir,
yeah. Like I thought that, did things, and the idea of Alfred saying that he was always going to be there to help fight him, which obviously is bittersweet because he's not here now.
Yeah.
But I thought it set up this idea that this is going on all around the city. It's kind of DEFCON 1. Everything's happening around them. It felt big. It felt like, okay, things are really happening. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it felt like an event, which is maybe a scary word to say in a comic book because they throw that word around so much, but it actually does feel like an event. So,
and I think that it sells itself as justifying tie-ins. Whether or not we're not going to read most of the tie-ins still. No, it sells the scale of this story that, okay, tie-ins seem fair.
Yeah, the other Bat books should react to what's going on. Yeah,
because Gotham from top to bottom, it's almost like Joker's at war with Gotham because Batman is Gotham. I know it gets thrown around a lot, but like now it's to the point where Joker's using Wayne Enterprises to go at war with the Gotham PD. And which is kind of putting Bullock on the same side as Batman, which I know in times that they fight and make up and stuff, but I do like when they're more antagonistic. So the fact that Tynion's gone out of his way now to put them distinctly on the same side against Joker, I like that.
Bullock kind of has to now because he's commissioner, and it's kind of swallowing his pride for the sake of the city is kind of a fun take on Bullock.
Yeah, especially when he's presented with this enemy that they know is being bankrolled by the Joker. They know that this is sketchy, and they can't just take the orders and do what they're told. Obviously, poor Lucius is being tortured by Punchline for information.
Yeah, which she feels more of a threat than Harley ever did, which I do like, because then again that throws the difference between them and how she's unique and not just Harley 2.0. But she does feel like a threat outside of herself. So, like, if Punchline starts showing up, like, whatever happens to Joker, and we don't see him for a while, but we get Punchline, I feel like she can hold her own against Batman.
I was ready to complain about something, because there's a scene here in the middle where Joker's buying the theater that, Bruce went to see Mask of Zorro.
Right.
And, I mean, I like this whole concept. I like everything he's saying and doing, and that he actually gets the film reel and all the rest of it. And the guy who owns the theater is, like, telling stories how, he used to say that he could hear the gunshots from the projection booth, but he's not. It's been so long now he doesn't remember if he actually did or if that was just a story he told for story's sake. I was going to complain, like, is he really just selling his theater to the Joker without question? But I think the idea is that he doesn't actually notice the Joker because his eyesight's that bad. Because there's several references to
No, I took that differently. I got it was he's just terrified. Is like, because he mentions that Bruce Wayne's come with offers in the past, but but it'd be crazy to turn him down. He's terrified for his life. That if he says no, Joker will just kill him.
No, but he specifically says for what he's offering, though.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think, but honestly, I think you can tell. I think only it's that surprising.
But why does he seem surprised then when there's like noises in the theater? Because he keeps saying he thinks he hears voices downstairs, and he's surprised that. I don't know.
Because I don't know, he didn't know about those being in there, but the person he's having a conversation with. Personally, I read it as he kind of knew it was Joker, and yes, the money is great and probably more than what Bruce offered him as well, but also, it'd be crazy to turn him down, specifically because he'd be killed.
Maybe. I mean, in that case, I have more of a problem with it then, because the idea of him just casually telling stories about the theater to the Joker just doesn't read right to me.
I mean, there's a theater that is still propped up in Crime Alley, so maybe he's just like, look, I'm done. Here, Mr. Joker.
It's the way he's showing him around. Like I had to read it as he didn't realize this was the Joker because his eyesight's that bad. Because the way he's just casually telling all these stories, like he's he's talking to a potential buyer, and there's not the freaking Joker who murders everyone that he encounters.
To me, it was he's telling these familiar stories to kind of just calm his own nerves, reassure himself that things are going to be all right. Just get through this, act like normal.
Okay,
that played kind of natural for me.
It feels a bit off to me, but.
He does seem very nervous, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the way Jimenez draws him. He's constantly wiping sweat from him.
Well, I kind of read it as he was getting more nervous as it was going on, because when he gets to the end and he's like, oh, that's my friends down there laughing, and we see the crowd, and he looks sort of terrified. It was kind of like, more of a realization as it goes on, like who he's talking to kind of thing. But, I mean... but I like the point of the scene though. I like what Joker's doing here. That he's going back to like the start of Batman, and sort of prodding at those things, and that he's going to do so. Also I forget what they call him.
The Underbroker.
Yeah, thank you. The Underbroker is doing all the bank work. That's the one who actually argues with Bullock, and says that he has to follow orders and all that. So I love the sequencing actually. So obviously the little twist there is that Batman was impersonating the chauffeur driver.
Yeah.
And he starts climbing up the building, and I like the sequencing here. The henchman sort of like Batman's like up in the skylight behind him, and then he turns around and he's gone. Just the little things of him like climbing up the building. Of course, it's all subverted when he actually gets to where he's going, and Punchline's already waiting in the secret little bat hideaway.
Yep.
We should mention he uses the basically the vision thing from Dark Knight.
Yep, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
The echolocation.
Yeah.
Yeah, or detective vision from the video game, I suppose you could also call it.
Sure. But yeah, no, I like the idea that he has all these secret rooms built into Wayne Towers, like as his backup bat caves. That's something. Of course he would. But I do like that they, of course, they know that though, because what's his name builds them for him, Lucius.
Yes.
So once they broke Lucius, they broke everything else, and you got to think about how that wouldn't have been Alfred, right?
Yeah, we see that new suit that's in there, which Batman didn't build. Nope. It's kind of unknown at this point. Like he didn't build it. Lucius claims he didn't build it. So I mean, I'm going to assume Alfred built this at some point, and that's where it came from. But the place gets gassed with a Joker toxin that's mixed with a bit of venom and a bit of fear toxin, and just a concoction.
It's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, concoction. The big cliffhanger is that the Bat plane with the voice of Alfred, obviously either Batman's outright hallucinating or the computer is being manipulated with Alfred's voice in mind, whatever it may be, but it takes a shot at the building, and a big sort of explosive cliffhanger. So that's kind of where the book ends. I quite liked it. I think it's one of the better issues that Tynion's done of Batman. I think, and part of that may just because March isn't on the art.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's a standout issue. I think it's a really solid opening of the story. That kind of like sets it up nicely.
I agree.
continues Tynion's rules of new gadgets every issue.
It sets the mood and it sets the stakes for the story, and I think ultimately, if you want one thing from the opening issue, it's to feel that it's a big deal. It's to feel like what you're about to read, this arc, is going to be a big deal in Batman's life, or So,
I don't like that Joker took time to draw a smiley face on the Batplane. That was a little much.
Yeah, he probably had henchmen do it. He's got people working for him.
And also, we don't know how true that is. This is all Bruce has been gassed with the fear toxin. Just because we're seeing that doesn't mean that that's the actual representation of it.
Sure.
Plus, if there's a character I buy painting a smile on something, it's Joker. I'm not even specifically a smile, just a character who would take the time for this theatrical element. It would be Joker. Yeah. So I have no issue with that, but no, that was solid. I thought it built up the stakes. I felt this impacting the whole city felt like a big deal at the start of the book, especially. So hopefully the story can keep this going, and I'd be curious to see how Batman eventually rallies the troops to fight back, and so on.
He's gonna have to.
Yes. But Matt's clearly falling asleep talking about Batman, so we're going to have to.
Yeah.
Going to have to move on here. Matt, what are you giving Batman 95?
I'm going to give this an 8, mostly for the art. I'm just happy to see Jimenez.
Sure. Car?
It's a 7 from me, which I thought I was more positive than Matt, but whatever.
Matt's scale's broken. We know this.
It is.
So I will give it a straight 8 as well. I thought it was really, really solid, and I'm excited to see what Joker War goes and becomes. All right. Action Comics 1023, Brian Michael Bendis writing, with John Romita Jr. unfortunately still on the art. And I mean, I think the last issue he did, we were saying, it's not the worst of his art. It's not good, but it's better than what it has been. This was like such a regression back into the worst stuff.
Time.
I'm gonna get
this whiplash.
Art.
It looks rushed. Like I cannot like JR's art on a objective level, subjective level, whatever one. I always confuse them. All right, it's just not for me. I don't like it. But if you do like it when he's, like the last issue, cool. This though, I don't know. Even if you are a JR fan, you got to look at this and be disappointed, because just some of it feels sloppy. Like there's one image of John and Connor looking, and it looks like a sketch that was colored, that he did on a little 3x5 card for somebody at a con. And to me, that's not what should be in a sequential story. That's just
is this when it comes to Smallville for the first time, and they're one's I think Connor's hugging the Kents, and they're both looking over. Yeah, there's like no detail whatsoever. It's so flat. In fact, the moment I hate in that page, like further down, is Brainiac turns and says, "Is that a tractor?" I think, like, if you want an example of how flat the art in this book looks, that Brainiac's head on that panel is just so flat. There's like nothing to it. It's terrible. Yeah, I hate the art in this book. I mean, this is the thing. I actually like the story. I like what the story's doing. The art is horrendous. Horrendous.
Yeah. I love seeing the dynamic though of Connor and John working with Clark, and so they're gonna fight Red Cloud, and she can suffocate them. That's part of her thing, right? That's how she almost beat Superman before. And John decides, he's like, well, should I? What does he say? Because it was should I super inhale? I thought no, because he's a kid. So I like that. But then again, that's Bendis knowing that character, knowing these characters pretty well.
The gist of the issue is that we ended last time with Lois and Jimmy kind of stumbling into Red Cloud when they were looking for invisible mafia stuff. Red Cloud's going to kill Jimmy. Lois says Smallville, which gets Superman and the boys there. And Lois must mention does not know who Connor is, and that's kind of a running gag in the issue where she keeps trying to ask who this kid is, and to the point where she actually has a joke where she says, "It looks like you and Lex Luthor had a baby," and then there's a kind of awkward silence of like, technically.
Not wrong.
Yeah. So they fight Red Cloud for a bit. Red Cloud, again, the art here looks horrendous. I mean, Red Cloud's supposed to be made of mist and smoke and cloud, right? And yet her head looks like it's made of rock for most of the panels. Yeah. It looks so bad. Some of the line work is so heavy as well, and some of her stuff.
Real. I mean, and then you get to where they start to use their super breath to knock her out too, and there's just so many lines, right? Like, it's almost distracting. But I go ahead.
I just I still want to read the story, but this might be the most I've ever felt burned by buying a comic, and I hate that I supported this comic because this art is horrendous. I hate that I contributed to this because I think the art is that bad.
Yeah. So actually the page I was talking about, it's on the page where John gets choked out by Red Cloud.
You make. Yes, John's getting choked out by the cloud. This is
Red Cloud.
This is further into the issue, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the top of the page with Connor and Jimmy Olsen. It says, "Come on, Red Lady, fight or don't." Just the way Connor and Jimmy look on that page, they look like quick sketches. You know, that's the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
But your Brainiac one is along the same lines.
Yeah,
so.
It's honestly, there's points in this book where Lois looks like a guy. That Jimmy panel you just told me about. He looks like a 12-year-old girl in that that panel. They are this is diabolically bad. I have never felt conflicted about supporting a book, but just because the art is this bad in my life. It's
but I like the story is moving the hidden mafia stuff ahead. Which I do like. So, Red Cloud goes back to Leon, and, Leon's talking about Lois and whatnot. And what does she say? But basically, Red Cloud comes out as, Robinson, as she's like, oh, I like Lois as a person, as a reporter, but the fact that she's Superman's wife, that's a problem.
Yeah, the big thing that happens here is that the supers are kind of talking about how do they fight this threat, this mafia, and they kind of have to let's try and fight it like a gang would, essentially, which is kind of on Superman. But essentially what they do is, because Leon hears the story later where she's told that Superman showed up to one of her clubs, the Black Label Club, and they made the place evacuate, and then Leon thinks she's been told that Superman blew up her club, but what they actually did is they used Kryptonian tech to shrink it, because they say, we call this the Candor, and they've shrunk the club down to tiny size. So they're going after her, her illegal places of work. They're taking out stuff. Which, by the way, the art in that panel where John is using the big ray gun to shrink the place. Look at him. Look at the hair. What is that? That is not a human being.
This makes me so satisfied to hear.
To be fair, he's half human.
Okay, so you know what I meant. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
Joey looks like he looks like a really bad sketch someone did of a Street Fighter character.
Yeah, he looks like Ryu without the headband.
Yeah.
Not good.
I think it might be funnier not seeing it and just hearing these descriptions.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
Well, and that's the thing about Red Cloud is, like Pete mentioned, you were gone, but she's supposed to be this being of mist and smoke. But JR draws her as a solid.
Joe, she looks like a red Groot. She looks like a red tree.
Yeah.
She looks solid.
Yeah. Oh man, now I can't unsee that.
Especially towards the end when she's talking to Leon, there's like a profile shot of Red Cloud.
It's Groot.
It looks like Groot. It looks like a red Groot.
Pete, how much are those +3 points coming in use on keeping you reading this now?
Yeah.
I mean, I still care about the story. I still care about what Bendis is writing. But I tell you this is going to be one of the lowest scores I've ever given to a comic book where I like the story.
Wow. Well, to wrap that all up, Jimmy goes to the Daily Planet to let Perry know what's going on about Lois and Clark in a gang war with Leon. And it looks like the FBI is coming in and raiding the planet and it looks like it's going to be down. But
which by the way, one final art thing in this last page, Agent Chase, Cameron Chase. Whoa, look at her. Look, she's a stick figure with like just like. I mean, her face looks. It's like 2 dots and a line.
She looks like the gentleman from Buffy.
Can one of you please screenshot this for me? Because I need to see this one.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm on it. All right.
I've never been so glad to not be reading a Superman book in my life.
It just sucks. It just sucks too because we were so complimentary on the last Action issue because it wasn't that bad, and then it doubly sucks for me because this is the story that I've wanted. Where how does Connor fit in between Clark and John? You know, like John reacting to the fact that he has this big brother out there that he never knew about. You know.
I'm sorry. What is that?
And it's being saddled with JRJR art, and I just don't understand it.
This is
Do you remember in quarantine where I read the Miller Daredevil run and you know, some of the stuff that had JRJR in it, and it was like, holy crap, this is actually good art, and like not even like good by JRJR standards, like legitimately good art. And I'm like, this is why he has fans. And then I see that panel that Pete's just sent me, and I'm like, how is that the same person?
Yes, apologies for the video freezing for those two as I screenshot things, but I'm just sending Connor another one. You can have that.
The Groot.
No, I was giving him the John one.
What?
Gotcha.
Wait, that's John?
That's John.
Yeah, that's John.
There's several times.
What is that he's shooting?
It's a shrink gun.
It's a shrink gun because they're shrinking all of Leon's stuff.
Yeah, if you say so.
Yeah.
it looks like a drill with a light on the end to help you see the screws.
Yeah. So, all right, Pete, let's rate this so we don't have to talk about it no more.
Yeah, go on then.
I'm gonna give this a 4.5.
Yeah, I was thinking 4. I was going to go, and I like the story. I like what the story with the Invisible Mafia. I like the stuff with Lois and finding out about Connor. I like all that stuff. Worth mentioning, this has a very in-depth recap page at the start, which I was not expecting. Like, you know,
which I kind of like because it's done in that style that you would get. Because I just I finished the Yellen McKelvey Young Avengers, and that's how every one of those issues starts.
What I like about it is that at first I opened it and I was like, my god, that's a lot of text, and then I started reading it and went, oh, this is just a recap, I can just sort of skim this, I don't need to but it's there if I need it, it's there if I want to actually solidify the details again, I can.
So so I like that Bendis is working that in, where traditionally we don't get those in DC Comics, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to say if this had good art, let's just imagine this had good art, I'd probably be giving this like an 8 or so. But because the art alone got it down to a 4. That's how bad the art is. I hate it.
Yep. That's sad.
It's eye diarrhea, alright? That's what it is.
Diarrhea.
Yes. I've never wanted to sever my optical nerve so much.
Oh. You really are making me feel happy that I'm not reading this. Which is different.
You know, David, our beloved patron, Red Hood's going to be done soon, and Connor's going to need a new book to read, and I can't help but feel that I Bendis Romita
no
Jr.
one wants
combo.
to see me cover things that you've already covered in the show. There's no fun to that.
Oh, I'll enjoy it.
All right, cool. What's the next book?
The Flash 758, Joshua Williamson writing with Christian Duce on the art. The Legion of Zoom has made their first attack. They've retreated to a hideaway whilst Barry tries to get his family into a safe place, get them out of the city because things are dangerous. Which felt like it was kind of going against the whole thing, we're going to stay with you and fight. And they kind of bring that up here, but he's like, well, it's actually just too dangerous because Thawne's going to go after you next. So
there's, with new information that Barry has, right? He's like, well, no, he's plucking these people from time. Who knows what else he's done?
Yeah, it's actually...
Do you understand the doubling back?
It's Wallace who notices that Cold and Glider have got old costumes on, and that's what kind of lets Barry figure out that, oh wait, he's plucking them from different parts of the timeline. It's not just the current versions of these things. So obviously after the Romita Jr. art, the art in this looks like it deserves like 10 Eisners by comparison. I
will say the coloring makes it feel a little bit too digitally.
It has a kind of that Marvel sheen to it that I don't like it about it, but I'll take that over Romita's art. I'll take it.
Other than that, it's fine. I was gonna say, but So I wonder, because I'm reading this digitally now. I'm wondering how it looked on the page. So if you guys read this physically, let me know if it's still, or if the printing of it dialed down that sheen a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. But it has that kind of fake sheen that some Marvel books have had in the past that I've disliked. Not on everything, I must say. It's kind of on the regular people faces. Once we're in people with costumes, with masks and stuff, because I think the villains look really good when we get to them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, especially this version of Glider, the physical version of her.
Mm-hmm.
I think that costume's slightly underrated, just because it has all the flowiness with the ribbons and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Duce really does a good job.
Although I will critique one thing in the Glider art, is that yes, as we all know, when women cross their arms, they cross their arms under their boobs and push them up. That's how women cross their arms.
Oh, I mean, as a chesty man myself, that's how I do it.
I believe the answer to that is only when they want something from a man.
Yes.
So why does Matt do it then?
Same reason, obviously.
Same reason. He's at Taco Bell and he's like, hey, can I get some extra cheese on my tacos, please?
That's why they only put ladies at the drive-thru now, because I was getting too much free stuff. We gotta cut it. He's affecting our bottom line. This is a joke, guys. I've lost plenty of weight, and I've converted that chunkiness to chest muscle, so I could lift up a car. Y'all know. Yes.
So okay.
Hey, want to have a push-up contest, Connor?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said no, because I can only knock out about 20.
I love the idea that Matt would tilt his camera down and we just watch him do push-ups while we talk about the book for 5 minutes. All right, so Reverse Flash shows up and is like, "Aha, have no fear. The plan is all going to
patience is a virtue."
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, basically the whole point is there's a little cliffhanger here where he says, "Oh, but don't worry, I've got a secret weapon." Which turns out, of course, so we get Barry phoning his dad to make sure his dad's in a safe location, because he obviously assumes that Thawne might go after him.
Which, wherever he is, I want to go. It's this log cabin that just looks, it's so picturesque.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Barry, why don't you live there, buddy? Like, it's so nice.
It does look pleasant, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe he's too worried that the super speed will start a fire because it's all wood, so it's all logs and stuff.
That's
so he's worried that he's going to burn it down by accident. Yeah. So Barry goes back to his childhood home because he's trying to connect the dots between that case that he was working that was kind of eerily similar to his own childhood. And there's the Golden Age Flash comic on the floor, and that's when the evil Wonder Twins burst in.
Evil Wonder Twins, the Tornado Twins?
Sorry, I said Wonder, didn't I?
Did.
Tornado Twins.
I mean, they do, wear purple. They are twins. I mean, they're not Zan and Jaina.
That was a great slip. That was just a great slip. I do like how she says, "Hi, Daddy-O." That made me chuckle. There's just something evil about someone saying Daddy-O. But so they fight a bit. So correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm not as down on the Tornado Twins stuff as I should be here. The backstory they describe here is the implication that this when Barry dropped off Iris and the kids in the future, is that meant to be like during Crisis? Is that like?
I believe so.
Yeah, so he took them to the future for protection, went back, died in Crisis, and then they were kind of stranded there. Okay, and then Thawne came and sort of taught them how to be evil. Yeah.
Yeah, and it created the Sideways. That's where Bart comes from too.
Yes.
Because at one point Iris dies, but she's still around because Bart knows his grandma. So yeah, it gets timey-wimey, but yeah, what I took this is post Infinite Crisis, that in that timeline that created this version of them, he never came back, and so there's this feeling of abandonment that Thawne's able to exploit.
Yeah.
So I do like that. Also, Barry and Iris, you can't name your twins Don and Dawn. D-O-N and D-W.
Well, that's why I notably did not use her name a minute ago when I was saying what her line was, because it's too confusing.
Yeah.
Because out loud it sounds the same. Ah, dear. So they basically fight Barry a bit, and they kind of win, along with the rest of the team. Mm-hmm. And Thawne comes along, and the big ending to this issue is that Thawne phases into Barry and takes control of Barry's body, and Barry's left sort of trapped in his own mental space because he's like, this isn't the Speed Force, where am I? So Thawne in Barry's body is off to see his family, And I guess this is him finally fulfilling this idea that he can be the Flash, that he can be the greatest Flash. Because now he's actually
literally became his hero.
Yep.
Which you don't want to do. You want to take what your hero did and add to it.
The big thing is though, because I was thinking Barry's like inside himself, like this is just like a sort of main space. But while he's in there, the final page, the big cliffhanger is he encounters some zombified versions of Max Mercury and Jesse Quick, implying that Thawne has killed them, and this is where they've went upon death, kind of thing. So we'll see how they play out with that. I mean, I kind of like the idea of like Thawne becoming Barry. There's a nice dramatic, conclusive nature to that based on what his story with Barry's always been. As I say, it's not a perfect issue by any means. I do think there's a couple of clunky elements, and I'm not necessarily in love with the whole we have to get the family away now after we kind of did the opposite thing last issue. But the art's pretty good for the most part. Like I said, some of that sheen from time to time is a little bit intrusive, but.
And you didn't mention that when he goes into the Speed Force, it's Scott Collins art. So then there's a shift in the art, and I thought it was real.
Oh, notably,
cool.
Although notably not the Speed Force.
No, not the Speed Force, but into himself, whatever.
Yes.
Whatever.
Wherever he's went at the end, yeah.
I'm gonna say it's Speed Force adjacent because they're coming out of it.
Yeah.
With the speed lines.
Maybe the negative Speed Force. I mean, they might go down that path. I do like the art change isn't a problem because it's such a different location. It actually works that the art changes for these last two pages. So I wonder if they're going to have a thing going forward where maybe they'll keep both artists and Collins is going to do everything inside this realm, whatever it may be.
That'll be cool. Collins, I like when Collins does Flash.
Yeah,
it goes together.
Yeah, I have no complaints on that. So I don't think it's like an amazing issue. I think it's it still feels like a Williamson issue of Flash. But I do kind of like some of the dramatic poetry that it's playing with, and the art's generally not bad. It's good even. So just with the odd little thing here or there. So maybe not a triumph by any means, but
no.
So I'm certainly not mad about reading it like I was not too long ago.
No,
so.
I do like it. Finally feels like Williamson does have that. He knows exactly where this is going, so it doesn't feel like a lot of holding pattern.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, that's the Flash. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Yeah. I'll probably just go with this rate 7. I think. Oh, it's the nudge lower, but not bad. I enjoyed reading it. So cool. Shazam 13, Geoff Johns writing with Dale Eaglesham on the art. This is
full issue of Eaglesham. That's nice.
Yeah. This is the penultimate issue of Johns' run. Not a penultimate issue of the book, because there's one issue after Johns is done. But we get an oversized issue 14 coming. This is clearly setting up that final showdown. And it is the fight with the Monster Society, basically, that appeared at the end of the last issue. So nice that there wasn't nothing too complicated that needed to be remembered. I think is probably a good thing here because it's been so long since that issue.
I picked right back up on it, and whatnot. But it's got a lot of fun with the Flash family fighting the Monster Society. Yeah,
I love the 2-page spread that it's like a bit of a roll call for all the villains here. Yeah. I actually really liked, and it made me kind of want like a lot of other stories just dealing with these individually. I think that'd be a lot of fun, but obviously we're not getting that, so we just have to go. So the whole thing here, so Mr. Mind's taken over Billy's dad, so he's now evil. I do like that the big barbarian villains like leave the women to me, and then the creepy little like.
From the Funlands, Mr. Merry-Go-Round.
Yes, I would like the youngest to play with. That's what I was promised. I'm like, that is dark and creepy.
Well, and I love that Mary's like, all right, I've heard enough. We're taking these fools out. So. Yeah, it's very cathartic. She basically bitch slaps the big thug who was like, leave the woman to me, and she like just smacks him in the face. So a lot of good action here, a lot of good art with this action. It was a very quick read because of a lot of it was that. But the harsh part for Billy here is Billy is like, okay, so you did this to my dad. I'm going to try and get him back. And Mr. Main's like, look, we had to track down your dad. He wasn't looking for you. It wasn't that we took over him after he arrived here. He only came here because we made him come here. We see him; he's a pickpocket. He's not thinking about Billy. He's a bit of a scumbag.
and he's like, hey, so and they threaten the foster parents, like, hey, we're going to kill them if you don't do what we say. So Billy, gets the book from the Rock of Eternity, comes in, he reads from the book because what they want, what Savannah, Mr. Mind want, is to merge all of the 7 lands together into one world that they can then rule. So Billy reads from the book. This happens. Some fun stuff with the tiger. I toy a tiger.
Tawny gets So Tawny comes in to attack Savannah, and evil dad, Mr. Mind, turns him into a baby tiger.
Yeah,
but he still tries to fight. So get it, Tawny.
Yeah, but probably one of my favorite bits of art, actually, just the little cub tiger, going meow and try to swing at Savannah.
Right.
I like that panel a lot.
And I also like that Mr. Mind points out that the reason that they chose his dad is because there's that blood connection, that no matter what, Billy would have shared the power, whereas had he shared it with the foster parents, like he did the family, then they basically played right. He played right into their hands.
What they're saying is that they're saying that he can't sever the connection because even now even if he wants to now, his dad's connected by blood. I feel like Billy's going to prove them wrong in the next issue, but that's what their line of thinking is right now, is that he can't just change his mind now because they're connected by blood. So we get this thing, you get a little glimpse of Superboy Prime in this little page where Billy says all the spell from the book, which unites the 7 lands. But Billy also smartly, because they said to him, well, that book has every spell we need, he actually reads another spell from the book, and the cliffhanger of the book is that Billy actually shrinks down in size so he can go inside his dad's ear and fight Mr. Mind directly. So the final page is this full page spread of Billy inside the ears, earwax dripping from the top, and he's going to take on Mr. Mind. He's like, pick on someone your own size, which is a cheesy line, but you know what, Shazam, I'll let it go.
He was the big red cheese. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, no, when I realized that he had, because it does look like he had X'd out, but I was like, wait, that spell Subtraxium. I was like, wait a minute. So he ends up shrinking, and just him basically throwing down with something that can't punch back. I kind of like the idea of Mr. Mind really stepped in it this time. So
yeah, I love the idea that Mr. Mind doesn't usually have to deal with something his own size just punching him. Like he's just not used to like, a fist fight, right? So I'm kind of into it. I actually really enjoyed this issue. Obviously, I wish the run was more consistently out. I wish it was a longer run and not just something that was ending next issue. But I did enjoy this issue. I'm glad that maybe they did spend some more time in these last couple of John's issues to get them more consistent.
Yeah,
and give us a good finale.
In that, there's a tease for Superboy Prime, which I know not everybody likes Superboy Prime like I do, but there's a tease for that here, and it's just gonna make me wonder what if, what was the plan going forward? Maybe someone else will pick that up and go forward.
He's in one of the metal one shots, I think. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. So maybe that's just there for that. I don't know, but yeah, I just like the idea of Superboy Prime versus Billy. Like that's such a. I don't think we've ever gotten that before, right? Because Shazam was around during Infinite Crisis, but not in the way that we know.
I don't remember Shazam versus Superboy Prime.
I like that dichotomy there.
It's definitely been a while though. But no, I love the final page. The final page is great. And the action's fun. It was a quick read. It's kind of a chapter in this book that I wish was more this consistently and more of this for longer. But hey, we'll take what we can get. At least it's maybe going to go out in a solid pair of issues, and we can I mean, hopefully, I'm hoping that when this is all together, the art inconsistencies might be the one thing that hinders it. But I'm hoping that once it's a couple of trades or one big trade, that it's a nice story, a nice sequel to his New 52 Shazam origin book, because it very much is. It feels like a continuation of that. So at the very least, it feels like there's if you consider it all one run, then okay, at least it has like, I don't know, 20 issues worth all in or something like that. So we'll see.
I just remember how it was when the first issue came out, and we had that backup with Mary and the bunny, and just how it was so hopeful.
Yeah, it was.
And we're like, yay, Shazam, this is gonna be fun. And then it kind of just it's gone the way of the John books right now, outside of Doomsday Clock. We're just kind of diminishing returns, but
at least 3 Jokers is all done though. It's only 3 issues, so hopefully that doesn't feel like it suffers from these problems. So no, I like this. What are you giving this issue, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I really enjoyed it, and I think that's a lot because I didn't, I wasn't that big going into this.
Yeah.
But so low expectations. It ended up going over. I like the roll call page and then that final image. Just it made me laugh.
A lot of fun characters in that roll call page, including, of course, Crocodile Man, and also, of course, Scapegoat, which we pointed out heavily last time.
Scapegoat, and he did stuff here, although, yeah, I want to know what his deal is, because for him to be in there, he's seemingly innocuous.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give it the straight 8, I think. I liked it quite a bit. I don't want to overshoot it, though, just because I'm happy that we had a good Shazam issue. But 8 out of 10 for me. Justice League Dark 24. Ram V writing with Amancay and Nahuelpan on the art. Probably butchered that name, but I did my best.
That's okay. Close enough.
So Connor, after 3 issues of sitting with his thumb shoved squarely up his ass, is going to finally talk about.
I can't be comfortable, bud.
No, I was just watching the snooker. I was quite happy. I mean, you guys can carry on if you want.
I can't talk about Justice League Dark. You have to tag in.
I can.
Just before we even get to the issue, this is the first time I've really noticed it just say V on the front cover for the credits.
Right.
And it threw me for a second.
V from V for Vendetta is right in the book.
Sure. That explains all the alliteration with the words that start with V.
Yes.
It's still Ram the Fifth in my brain. Like I can't.
I can think of that as well.
Right. But anyways, this issue, which I just want to point out, which normally we don't point out issue titles, right? But this one's called As Above, So Below, which is something that I've learned from listening to paranormal stuff. So I do like that both Tynion and now Ram V, they are tying some black magic-y or from the real world into this.
Something on that, you mentioned first Tynion and now Ram V. It's been a few issues of Ram V now, and it feels like, no, this book hasn't skipped a beat. This is just, it's obviously continuing threads from Tynion stuff, but it also feels like, no, it's definitely doing not just that, it's doing its own stuff as well.
Yeah, this feels like it's the first time that it is addressing stuff. So like, you feel like the other kind are going to be, however long this book runs, they're going to be in the background. They're kind of what the team's about. But this was the first issue where it felt like Ram V's taking his own threads and the stuff that he wanted to focus on versus trying to tie up some of Tynion stuff.
There's some teasers and solicits in the future that, again, this is teasers and solicits, not even like confirmation of anything. So grain of salt that maybe Zatanna will be dying in like November.
Maybe.
Or October, maybe. October, November.
Right.
But, yeah. Which, seeing what this story is, maybe kind of lines up, because this story is about her obsession with trying to, free her father from the other kind.
Right. But yeah, so it starts with her it starts with the burning Zatara,
which is
just ghastly.
It's a fantastic homage image to the original Books of Magic series.
Okay.
Which had a page very much like this with Zatara stood there doing a trick kind of thing with narration around it.
Okay. Well, that's real cool.
Yeah.
But then it jumps to what almost looks like the Tower of Fate.
Does, doesn't it?
Completely obliterated with Wonder Woman fighting the Upside Down Man, with the rest, her and Zatanna, with the rest of the league kind of just all around. But Constantine's there.
Yeah, that threw me for a second at first. I was like, why is Constantine there? He just left. And then, it goes to the next page. It's, 1 week ago. So, okay, fine, we're doing that.
Right. But it's also Man-Bat, which I'm glad to see. We haven't had him in this book for a minute. So
yeah, he's kind of been out of commission for a while.
To see there. But yeah, and we get this awesome page of the 1 week ago of Diana on, pulling a Batman almost, standing on the ledge of a roof, watching the sun either rise or set. I can't tell what direction, but it's got narration from Bobo about what they've been doing and what it means, which is nice. It's another kind of setup, kind of like we talked about with one of the other books. Like, this is what's been going on here, in case you just picked this up.
Yeah.
But it's got Detective Chimp and Wonder Woman talking about, all the stuff that they've kind of messed up on, and it's almost her questioning if they've done the right thing.
It's more she's questioning herself and whether or not she was right to start this team and try it. And Boba basically is like, hey, look, the rest of us are kind of here, but you're the one that, like I say, you're the one that started the team and anchored it. If you put up a good front, the rest of us will follow. But if you crumble, that's it. We're all done for.
Right. And so, and she's been pretty key from the start, right? Because you have the whole Hecate thing where she has a piece of Hecate in her, and that comes into play later. But he also talks about what Zatanna's been doing, that she showed up at the Oblivion Bar, because ever since Constantine took off, she's been kind of a wreck. And that she came to pick up something that he had to obtain. And it's like the spell on paper that ends up becoming like this demon creature that they have to fight in the Oblivion Bar, which is a real fun page.
And just them like sitting underneath the body of the demon at the end. Looks fantastic.
And then she picks up a bottle of what looks like Jack.
It is.
And leaves. And Bo is like, well, she didn't even really say thank you. She just kind of gave me a peck on the cheek and left, which is very unlike her. So we're starting to get to the point where it's almost Zatanna's lost herself in this obsession. And we do see that she went back to her, the theater that she was headlining before all this started, when Diana went to talk with her and recruit her. And she has this, conspiracy board of just all this different magic stuff. And we find out that this thing that she picked up from Bobo is Levi's Seal of Solomon. And then she says, the title, which as above, so below, which basically means anything you do on one plane affects another plane.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's some backwards
constant
magic of as in one, so in the other, which is assuming a pairing to that phrase.
Right. And we get the sort that she's trying to locate her dad, wherever he is, because as we learned that, he had made a deal basically to save her, right?
Yeah.
Like he kind of sacrificed himself, and that put all of this on her. And, Constantine was part of it. So she feels a little bit betrayed, and she tries to go there, and it doesn't work. And from the way that the bubbles are, she's kind of sauced, she's not at her full mind. And she can't get it to work, the spell, no matter what she does. And she yells out that she's not going to give up.
This is where we cut away now to Bobo's visiting Chimp.
Yep. Which
Bobo's visiting Manbat. There. My brain, as soon as I said it, I was like, that wasn't right.
And now we get to the Manbat that I've loved, is the half scientist, half Manbat.
Yeah.
And he's found out that not only is Swamp Thing back, but he's even stronger now. And after doing some experiments, he's found out that it's called endosymbiosis. And he explains that to Detective Chimp, that it seems like the reason Swamp Thing's stronger is all the other parliaments are actually working together.
Yeah, they're part of him. So he's got a little bit of the red, like presumably in some, microbes maybe, or so on.
And he's going back to places that were ruined. And, and he dropped some names, which I don't quite remember. They must be Swamp Thingy things, but like Rosewood and Kinniscook and Halma. And he's returning to them to adjust the darkness that's bubbling beneath. So, you got Swamp Thing going on this mission now even stronger to right the things from before.
And I got a good laugh in this section as well, which doesn't always happen in this book, because it's, dealing with some terrible stuff usually. But it's when Manbat's like, so something was acting weird. So I took a tissue sample.
Yeah.
And Bob was like, you did what? He goes, my unethical and obsessive pursuit of science is an unhealthy coping mechanism. Judge me later.
Yeah, you judge me later. But look, this is what I found.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And then we get some more of Khalid and what looks like the old Fate.
Yeah, it's Kent.
Kent Nelson is leaving because he's like, you're Fate now. I'm done. That helm is a prison as much for you as it is for Naboo. And I need to go make right for a lot of the stuff. But he gives him a hug on the way out because he's like, well, what if I need you?
And he's like, you won't, essentially.
Yeah. You'll be fine, I promise. So I do like that now we're going forward with Khalid. And it seems like that's a Ram V thing, which I do like because I'm not a Fate guy like you are.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is a character that should be a legacy at this point, he's kind of been a legacy before. So we're getting to that.
I really like this whole bit from Kent though, where he talks about, you spend so much time as Fate understanding how everything works that it kind of loses the wonder of it. Even though you're doing literal magic, you lose the wonder of the universe because of you're so aware of all the minutiae.
Right.
And he wants to kind of get that feeling back and not know everything at once.
Right. And yeah, and so that's what he says. Some answers, my boy, are best left to fate. And it's a really good image with them embracing in the reflection of the helm.
Yeah, it's a great panel.
Yeah. And then it cuts back to Diana and Detective Chimp, and they're talking about what they need to do to help Zatanna. And Diana agrees. So they show up, and Diana says that the reason she can't go there is because the Upside Down Man and Hecate are reflections of each other. You need a piece of that to be able to go to that realm. But she happens to have that piece in her, so she'll help.
And it makes sense dealing with Hecate, do things in threes.
Yep.
That's kind of the magic number, as it were. Right.
And so they open up a portal, and Zatanna and Diana. That's a fun rhyme to do that I haven't hit till now. But Detective Chimp pulls out a slip out of his jacket.
Yeah, because they basically tell him to stay behind, and hey, you'll guard the fort with Man-Bat. You'll be the last line of defense.
Right. And so the note from Constantine says, if you ever find yourself a patron short at the bar, here's how you can find me. So Constantine gone, but not really. He did his play.
If he was ever going to come back, it was going to be to help Zatanna.
Right. For something that he helped cause with Zatara. Right.
Yeah.
And they end up going into this other realm, which now looks like Fate. This is where they were at in the beginning. So it's not the Tower of Fate.
No, but it looks like with all the towers and the stairways and stuff. And
Zatanna can see someone coming ahead, and it's burning Zatara. Let me get it to be continued.
Seemingly.
Seemingly.
Yes. Remains to be seen if it's actually him or not.
Which is that ghastly image. Of him. But yeah, no, it's really, 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 really solid. It's like, and I sound like a broken record, but it's like this and Hawkman have been routinely consistent with every month.
This is very much the issue between arcs. Okay, so we finished off the last big thing. We're kind of setting up where we're going now. We're doing the other place. We're doing Zatara and stuff with Zatanna. But we're taking aside a little break with the Fates and going, okay, this is where we're going with that forward. We get a little bit with Man-Bat and Swamp Thing kind of going, okay, that's where that's going forward. And it is very much kind of just establishing those things for now. But I'm really excited to get to those things. And this was definitely still really enjoyable to read.
Yeah. Thoroughly enjoyed this one issue. But again, it's the issues that take time in between to take a breath, reset. And, we just got done dealing with the Parliament, and, we're not done with that because he put in here, about the endosymbiosis.
Yeah, and that seems to be something that Ramvi's particularly interested in, because given where his first brush with this was the Swamp Thing stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it seems to be his kind of key desire to tackle right now.
So I'm excited to see what this is going. But yeah, this is one of the books I always look forward to. So, and to see that it's maintaining the quality, because anytime you have a big change like this, where it's just him now,
and I know he's been teasing on Twitter and stuff that the actual lineup of the team might be changing in coming months.
Now, that said, I don't want him to kill Zatanna, but if she's gone in a way where it looks to the team that she's dead, but we all know,
that would be nice.
In one of these, that's fine by me. We can get some more characters, but don't leave Z alone, man.
Yeah, I mean,
killer,
one of my favorites.
No,
I'm all for having a bit of a rotating cast, kind of bring in some other members. Because Swamp Thing's kind of been in and out since the start of the run. So I'm okay with us kind of, okay, well, we need someone more dependable on the regular.
Well, I'm like, the magic side of DC is one that's blind to me. So the fact if I can learn about more of these characters, then I do like that.
Let's start with getting Jason blooded.
Yeah, true. That'd be fine by me.
Fun. Yeah.
Any really of the Demon Knights. Just go back to that Paul Cornell, pull some of those characters out. Oh, we'll be good to go.
So good.
Which did we talk about on Hawkman that originally when he goes to see Xanadu, it was supposed to be Zatanna? And then because of Xanadu's power set, he decided to change her.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, okay. So I read that on Twitter because someone was talking about him and Zatanna for some reason in Hawkman. And he goes, oh, weirdly, I was going to use Zatanna. Or like if he had ever planned to use Zatanna or whatever. And he goes, yeah, in that first arc, it was going to use Zatanna instead of Xanadu. But the fact that Zatanna or Xanadu is so long-lived, it would play with the different reincarnations of Carter more than Zatanna. Sense. And it worked itself out. So
maybe in the future.
So you want to rotate these characters in that way. That's why, kind of back in the beginning of the show, we were talking about why we like that era of DC. That's because that stuff would happen more. Characters would come in and out, and they'd pop up in other books.
Quite fortunate in terms of that side of books in the New 52 early on, where we had Demon Knights, we had that really good Justice League Dark stuff.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind kind of more of that.
Yeah. So cool. What's your rating Justice League Dark?
It's a solid 8 from me.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit higher. Give it 8.5. Just for Man-Bat. Man-Bat alone.
All right. I've been finishing off some Skittles that I started yesterday.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how he's such a professional. He goes for the chewiest candy he could get.
Yeah. Very distracting, I might add.
Is it? I think it's louder on Escape than it is in the recording. At least I hope so. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'll mute my mic for the next part. Both Connor's yammering on. But I eat them one color at a time because I like just having the pure flavor of one flavor at a time. I really like that.
So strange.
So I've got the reds and the yellows left. I always leave those two at the last because my two favorites. But anyway, yeah.
Wait, so do you separate them all?
I'll like a few at a time. So I just take them out a little batch at a go, and then
This is a bizarre way to eat Skittles.
I got my reds and yellows.
Here's the thing. Left. I don't like the original Skittles. I like the blue bag. I think that's the tropical ones. So if I do eat them,
they're
because you get a purple one, it tastes like Diamond Tap. Not a fan.
What are the regular?
Yeah, in the regular bag.
Oh, the purple. The purple's by far the
grape?
worst. Yeah, the purple's the worst. Easily.
So I'd much rather just pick something that doesn't have the purple grape.
I don't think
flavor
I've ever eaten.
Wait, it's grape. Purple's not grape.
Purple in the original bag of red Skittles is grape.
It's blackcurrant. It literally says it in the back of the bag that I'm looking at.
Maybe they have different flavors.
Maybe they do.
Ours is grape, and it tastes like Diamond Tap, the cough medicine that my dad used to give me when I was too rowdy as a kid.
I don't believe
blackcurrant
is a common flavor in the States.
No. It's not, and we looked it up because I remember Stu, when he was recorded, he would drink blackcurrant juice.
Well, I got here.
Yeah, and me and Mario are like, that's not a thing. And he's like, well, not in the States. And we looked up why, and something to do with blackcurrant. If you don't do it properly, it becomes toxic.
At least that's one good thing about the US is that there's no blackcurrant anywhere. It's great.
Blackcurrant's a great flavor.
No, it's not. It sucks.
I have blackcurrant jam on my crumpets.
Blackcurrant is a shite flavor. I cannot get on board with it at all.
Blackberry?
Go on,
however, I was gonna say, I don't know about blackcurrant, but blackberry.
Oh, that's different.
Flavor.
Yeah,
completely different flavor.
Totally different thing.
Honestly, most of the purple sweets in the UK are blackcurrant flavored. That's like
it's just
the standard.
That's the color for anyway, Patreon book. There's one more book to talk about, or Connor has to talk about it. Everyone to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, or some of our patrons can have a tier where they make me or Connor read a book, and Connor is going to read Red Hood Outlaw issue 46. Take it away. I'm going to finish my Skittles.
I will say this has a reasonably nice cover, for once. It's I mean, you can look it up if you want, but it's Trigon's hand, kind of with the outlaws kind of in it, but on like a big white background. So it kind of has a style to it that a lot of it doesn't. A lot of it's just messy. I'm pretty sure it's the same artist as the regular book, which is Paolo Pantalina, and apparently Travis Mercer as well. This issue, who I assumed did the little intro bit, because that does look a little bit different. Because there's like a 3-page intro that is in the past in South Africa, and it's Artemis Grace apparently used to be a nurse in South Africa. I don't know. And the hospital that she was working in got attacked, and then she's like, all right, forget this, and pulls out the axe. And that's I think it's supposed to be like the first moment she really got the axe. It's kind of the way it plays. But I mean, I don't care. All of that was set up for her side of things, which is, if you recall, the end of the last issue, I was very confused because a random woman holding the axe showed up, claimed to be Mistress, the axe. Yeah, it is. It just brushes right over it. It's just like, oh yeah, it introduces her. Goes, she's just the entity known as Mistress in human form, because that's a thing, I guess, with this axe that we're going to throw in 45 issues after the axe was introduced. I don't know.
Okay.
Reasons. But a lot of this is still just continuing where it was last time. We're in the chamber of whatever it was, the chamber of all, which is this kind of maze that can go. It's like a labyrinth that can take you to anywhere, take you to anywhere you imagine, and even places you can't. Is the tagline for it, I guess. But Jason's very confused because this isn't supposed to be the entrance to this place. There's only supposed to be one in the Himalayas. But it seems weird to me. If it's a labyrinth that can take you to anywhere, doors tend to work in both directions. If there's an exit, it's an entrance, surely. But if whatever. But yeah, it's these beings that are the unspoken that are still possessing everyone. The leader has possessed the not Captain America soldier that they had as their handler for the last few issues. Jason pulls out his magic sword and stabs him with it, and it kills the thing, but not the person, because it only affects the entities. So they're all fine. They kind of all regroup. You've got Artemis and Mistress and the other woman who's with her, whose name I completely forgotten. The new Jason from before. And you've got this other person that they pick up, Saru the Protector, who I don't know, I'm not familiar with at all. She's just like, wait a minute, I know that voice, Saru the Protector, and I'm like, am I supposed to know who this is? There's no editor's note telling me or anything, so I'm confused, frankly. But basically, they come to the conclusion that the way to stop all this is to destroy the labyrinth, the chamber of all, and that'll save it all, because Trigon's basically trying to break through from it. He's kind of imprisoned in there, but if they can just destroy the antechamber, they'll destroy any access he has to this world. So that'll be the plan. Mistress, the person, disappears and just becomes the axe again, and comes back to Artemis, and basically Artemis transforms when she grabs the axe, and because she's been undercover, she had her hair dyed, and she was in disguise. As soon as she grabs the axe, it basically does the Thor thing, and she becomes Artemis again. Which, to be honest, having Artemis be a doctor is very Thor-esque as well in its own right, in terms of that secret identity.
Sure.
Going back to Donaldson, it's all just knockoff Thor at this point. Is kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what this writer does, is knock off. So
yeah.
Yes. I showed everyone my red Skittles because I thought it'd be thematic with the book that you're talking about.
Sure, you did. Now I have a question, because there's a joke
here.
A
red shirt.
There's a joke here at the end that legitimately confused me, and I'm like, am I been mispronouncing a word this entire time?
Probably.
Well, it's a really basic word,
okay,
and that's why I'm really concerned. So basically, it gets to the end. They're like, right, it's Trigon's there, and Bizarro tells him to shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's spelled SHOE, as in shoes.
So I'm sure that's a Bizarro thing.
Right? No, but here's the thing. So he says shoe, as in like shoes, and that's the way it's spelled.
Right.
And then Jason goes, it's pronounced shoe, as in SHOO, but fine. I'm like, they're pronounced the same, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I'm not going to think about it. That's why he's leaving DC. It's fine.
This broke my brain when I read this earlier, because I'm like, am I pronouncing shoes wrong? Because I don't understand. I don't understand this joke. It makes no sense.
He should have added an H in Jason's, like SCH, whatever, right? To make it different.
Yeah, but
because then you could say that shoe is different than shoe, right?
I would say if you shoe someone, phonetically, it's the same as wearing shoes.
Right. No, I know, but for a better way to make it seem different, or have Bizarros add an H, right? SCH.
Yeah, I don't understand this joke. Like I'm actually baffled by this, because I'm like this is not if Bizarro says shoe, right? And how does Jason know he's saying the wrong shoe?
He doesn't.
Like, this doesn't work.
Connor, the reason that this doesn't work on you because you're not a failed stand-up from the 90s.
My Skittles were really nice, just for the record, if anyone's interested.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'm looking up real quick, not to digress, but I looked up about why we don't have blackheart in the U.S., and that's because when they first started importing them to grow them here, they killed one of our pine trees that are used for lumber. They carried a fungus with them. And
you killed my pine! That's a Back to the Future reference.
So they would damage the pines. So they just didn't. They got rid of them. So we started using other types of stuff instead. So there's why.
Yeah.
All right.
Just for you two, I sent you guys that panel so you can see if I'm going crazy, if I'm missing something, please, because right now I feel really stupid for not getting this.
I hope so, because I'd love to tell you.
But it just doesn't work. This is not a joke.
Bizarro looks like Zangief, and I don't hate it.
Yeah, I said that the last time I saw him. Hold on. It's not spelled shoe as in a shoe you wear. The O's before the E. Right? Wait. Actually, that's the shoe.
That's how you spell shoe.
I'll be honest.
Do you know what the problem is? You're used to seeing it with an S on the end. You're used to seeing it plural, so it looks kind of
it looks wrong. Anyway.
Oh my God, that is so dumb. I hate this writer.
Because I looked at that and went, yeah, that's not quite the right spelling. Maybe he's saying show or something like that. Like he said it. But you're right.
That would be me being stupid, and I can take all this.
No, but if he's saying show, then he should have wrote it out SHOW.
Oh no, I don't think he is. I think that's just what my brain said, and it's probably what Connor said. I'm just so used to it being a plural that seeing shoe without the S at the end just makes it look wrong. But do you know what it is? It's just it's a meta joke. Jason can see how he's spelt it as he says it, and he's saying it's
if this was a Deadpool book, fine, but it's not.
It's nice to see that Jason's wearing proper attire for the pandemic, though. He's got his mask on there.
Yeah, he's been ahead of the game on that one. You get credit where it's due. He got that look when he got the crowbar. If you recall.
I bet David, our patron, I bet his mask, who's got a briefcase. He bought a briefcase recently that was like $200 just to store his Red Hood comics in. He sent a video to me and Connor on Twitter to show off his new briefcase.
He paid way too much for that.
I bet he has his mask that he wears when he's going to work or whatever. I bet it's a red mask in honor of Red Hood.
I'm telling you now, I'm getting to the end of this now, because this is like the second to last page of this book. The last page is Bizarro just jumping into the Trigon Tango. Now I got this. But I was so baffled. Like I spent like 3 minutes staring at this before going on to the last page trying to figure it out, and I can't. It makes no sense. And I'm knocking an entire point off just for this. It was going to be a 3, and now I'm giving it a 2 because that just doesn't work. It makes me angry.
All right, well, let's go to the part of the show where we pick our favourites of the week. We pick our favourite panel / moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and then rank our top 5 books. Or in this case, I think most of us only have like 4 books or less, but
2
in Connor's case, so you can rank his 2 books.
I have 5. I have the exact number.
I somehow managed to read everything.
So Matt has to actually put Action Comics on his top 5. That's pretty funny.
I do, but I know exactly where it's going to be.
Oh, I've got a funny feeling that I know exactly where it's going to be in that list too. So we'll start off with a panel/moment. Matt, kick us off.
Let's see. There's plenty I could pick from Justice League Dark. But I'm gonna go with the final page in Shazam, just because it felt me with so much glee, thinking of Mr. Mind getting punched.
All right, Connor.
I'm gonna go with the panel from Justice League Dark, where it's the two fates in the reflection of the helmet.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's fair. I don't have like a super obvious thing this week, so I guess I'm going with Batman, just kind of mostly by default, but I will go with, actually no, I really like the sequence of Batman climbing in the building. Actually, I mean, obviously a really simple moment. Just from a dramatic point of view, it's not like a super big story beat, but I just like the atmosphere around it. So I guess I'll just kind of go with that. All right, cool. Cover of the week. I was actually I was pulling up all the variants whilst you two were talking about some dumb book, and every book has a pretty decent variant. Or at least the 4 I read anyway. They all have pretty decent variants. I think I'm probably going to pick. I'm tempted to say the Flash one, but I think I'm actually going to go with the Shazam variant, just because it's kind of like pulpy and old school, and yeah. I'm into
it's the only one I forgot to check.
Gillian Totino Tedesco is the variant cover artist, according to.
That's kind of nice, yeah.
The comic
that
books.
Is very nice.
So I'm going with that. Carter, what's your pick?
I'm going to go with the variant for Justice League Dark, which is kind of like a realistic horror look at Man-Bat, Bobo, and Swamp Thing. It's kind of disgusting in a good way. I'm into it.
That's what she said. Matt, what have you?
I'm waiting for the Flash one to load. I want to see what that one is.
Matt's computer.
No, I'm going to go with the Shazam one as well. The Shazam variant, because none of the main covers are really doing much.
Nah, the main covers aren't that great this week.
I think it's Paquette on Justice League Dark. That one's pretty okay. It's got a little bit too much of the writing. On the front.
If it was main covers, it would probably be Batman for me. But,
yeah, the Batman one's solid, but I think the variants all kind of beat that, to be honest.
Yeah.
The ones I looked at anyway. So, all right. Favorite art of the week, Connor.
I'm gonna give it to Batman out of the two. I think that was pretty nice.
Sure. I will probably say. Well, Action Comics is off the table right away.
Are you sure? You don't want to think about
it? Eaglesham's art in Shazam was really good, but I think I do have to go with Batman as well. I think Jimenez kind of stole the week as far as art goes overall. Matt?
So it came down to Justice League Dark, Shazam, and Batman, and I like Jimenez too much not to give it to Batman.
All right, clean sweep.
But yeah.
For Bats. All right, top 5 books or ranking however many you read, as the case may be. Matt, you're up first.
So number 1, Shazam. Number 2 is Justice League Dark. Number 3 is Batman. Number 4 is Flash. And number 5, but if I could make it 6, is Action Comics.
Connor?
Justice League Dark. Batman.
That was nice and succinct. I'll probably put Batman at number 1, Shazam at number 2, The Flash at number 3, and then I suppose I have to put Action Comics at number 4. God damn it, Romita. God damn it. Alright, that is our picks of the week. I will tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics, and it is definitely a busier week. So
not by much though.
Probably the most exciting part is the fact that we're starting off the new run on Wonder Woman 759. Tamaki's first issue is next week.
Please be good.
So I'm excited. I have utmost confidence in Tamaki, quite frankly.
So do I, but I'm just worried I've got my hopes up too high.
So we got Wonder Woman 759. Red Hood Outlaw 47 is out. Carl will be reading that in about 2 months' time. We got Batman Superman 10, John Constantine Hellblazer issue 8, Legion of Superheroes number 7, Suicide Squad number 7, The Plunge issue 5, and also the DC Cybernetics Summer Issue 1, the 80-page one-shot, if you're interested in getting that.
So I don't want to read this, but I clicked on it to see the creative teams. Well, not the teams, but who's on it.
Yeah.
You have Williamson, Stuart Moore, Max Bemis, Steve Orlando, Andrew Constant, and then art with Paul Pelletier, Nicola Scott, Coley Hamner, I always mess that up, David LaFuente, and Greg Smallwood. So it seems like it's
reasonable mid-tier talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you're interested.
I don't believe for a second that somehow Riley Rosmo's not doing a story in that book. do you know, I actually saw people this week online who were fans of Riley Rosmo and wanted to buy the that Joker tie-in metal one-shot because it was Rosmo art. That's what sold them on it. And I was just... I know, if you love it, you love it. But I was just sitting there kind of like, what?
I hope they don't listen to this because I'd feel bad for them.
No, but see, if they do, it comes down to taste. If you like that style of art, fine. It's just not for me. Yeah, I haven't hated everything he's done by any means. Like that Batman Shadow story he did with Orlando Once Upon a Time was fine. But it's a lot of fun.
But oh god, his art most of the time I can't stomach it. All right, so there you go.
You said it was a bigger week next week. It's still only 5 books. It's the exact same.
Yeah, I thought it was a bigger week. I feel like somewhere along the way, DC have done me dirty and made me look a fool. And I don't know when that happened.
I mean, DC doesn't need to help. I mean, you do that plenty enough.
How dare you hockey bear loving swine?
You know what? You say hockey bear, and there is a video that they taught bears to play hockey in Russia, and it's one of my favorite things ever.
That is the most Russian thing I've ever heard.
Look up. There's a Bill Burr video of him breaking down it, and it kills me every time. He also does one of Inoki versus some other guy that he just beats the shit out of, and it's Bill Burr giving his commentary on it, and it kills me.
Matt, how many people tagged you in the bear with nunchucks?
Everybody I know. My brother sent it to me. My friend sent it to me. Ashley tagged me in it.
I know I did.
Talon. Yeah. Alden. Everybody. And you know what? That bear is just doing what we worked on. It's fine. The training is taken.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. So I was just thinking of next month, I think, because next month's week 4 is busier. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So yes, I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you to my poster was already. Oh, there it is. Thank you to Alison M. Fordyce, Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Shaw, Board Now, and Zammer Jammer. They are all Patreon producers, meaning they are $20 or above patrons. But of course, you can support us for much less than that. You can support us for as little as $1 per month and get bonuses for your trouble and stay warm and fuzzy on the inside. Of course, you can also support us for free by simply clicking the old like button on YouTube. It's super important and lets people find us and grows the audience. Same idea if you rate the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. Give us 5 stars and a little review, and people will find us. And I think Matt just farted because he made a little weird noise.
No. It was a hiccup.
Okay.
I had a stifle, and then it hurt.
Yeah.
When I stifled it. Yeah. No, I know.
So that is that. Otherwise, guys, on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. And we will see you again next time for episode 212. Which, yeah, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. Maybe Connor will finally see the light and come out of his miserable shell.
Unlikely.
Yeah, maybe Matt will.
Look, the world's a miserable place right now. I feel justified.
All right.
It's not that bad though. It's kind of returning to normalcy in some parts. So.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Shall we move on and end the show before Connor depresses us all and leaves everyone with a bad, depressing taste in their mouth?
I reviewed 2 books very positively today. Thank you very much.
But Snooker, Connor.
Yeah, it'll be on next week. Don't worry. It'll be the actual finals will be next week, so it'll be good.
There you go.
Yes, okay, right. Well, Snooker's on next week. Connor's all excited. They're very good. They're all happy about it. Now, that has been the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.